So, good evening or good morning, however people are listening to this at whatever point in time. Uh, my name is Travis Pajoli, and welcome to Left to Right Cabs.
Cabs at left, right, cab. Left, right, cab. Man, you said the name wrong in it? Man, can we cut this and edit this? Yes. My name is Tanner Hall. With me is Travis Pajoli and also Jake Rudder, working our audio, video, making sure everything sounds good and is working.
Hello.
Yes. You can say hello to the people, Jake.
He's got a tough night ahead of him.
I'm sure I do.
He's our Jamie. Except we have the laptops. Oh, no, you have a laptop. So the point of this show, which is our very first show, our pilot, is basically it's kind of a debate show, but not so cutthroat. I'm not here to destroy Travis.
Joke's on you.
and I don't think he's here to destroy me. We're really open to the exchange of ideas from different sides of the aisle. There's probably going to be quite a bit that we agree on. Probably more than when we might even think, but to give a reason why the show's left, right. Travis takes a more liberal side or angle to an issue. I will take a more libertarian or right conservative side to an issue. And the cab part is because we drink Cabernet Sauvignon as we discuss these lovely issues. Will it pick up the tink? Right. Yeah. So yeah, we pick a Cabernet, and we're gonna drink tonight. This is free advertisement for every company. So if companies want to send us Cabernet, we'll give you a shout out. And tonight, Radius Reserve. It's 2018 Radius Reserve.
Yeah, from the Columbia Valley. So Oregon, Washington. Big shout out to Northwest Wines. It's actually where I started drinking a lot. Always was drinking a lot, but
right.
Moving into cabs and more full-bodied reds was when I was living out in the Northwest. So it's good to kind of a nice throwback to that time.
Yeah, I'm not a super big drinker in general. My poison is gin and tonics, but I do also like wine. And so when you told me that you were a big cab fan, like, let's incorporate the cab. Actually, I should maybe give the actual origin story. If this is the pilot, and if you want to know why this is even happening, I had a random weird dream one night, and I woke up in the dream. I was doing a podcast, and it was with Travis, we're friends. Then we've talked politics before, but it was never anything like, let's have a show where we talk about politics. Yeah. And I had a weird dream that I was like, wow, I woke up and it felt very real that Travis and I had a podcast and we were drinking wine and it was called Left, Right, Cab. And I told him about it and it was like, let's just do it. Let's just try it. It was really, it seemed like a cool idea. And so we did. And here's where we are. So yeah, I guess. And so the format of the show is kind of going to be very just open form topics and just kind of let things go organically and see where it goes. And I figure first we give a little bit of our history of who we are and how we got involved with enjoying philosophy and politics and religion discussions, things like that, and kind of our educational backgrounds and why we think we are. So I'll let you go first,
Sure.
Mr. Travis.
Sweet. So as Tanner mentioned, I usually prescribe to a more left position with a lot of my beliefs. Probably started when I was living in Connecticut as a small child. Let's say, my dad was typical kind of New England conservative, socially indifferent, but fiscally conservative throughout other things. And it was around 2000, we went to go see, then at the time, candidate George W. Bush in Boston. And it was a very interesting sort
Candidate, so we had one.
Yeah, no, this was before the election. It was when he was campaigning in New England.
Is this the father or the son?
I was not alive during the father, but it was the son, GW.
You weren't alive during the
HW.
father?
Oh, no, that's true.
About?
Yeah, 92.
The 90s.
Yeah, early 90s. But no, this was candidate GWB.
Okay.
And I remember seeing the sort of pomp of it all and just, it was a very interesting position. And again, we always sort of take, the parents' beliefs and general sort of opinions on topics, and we use those to kind of formulate our own, as we grow older. So myself coming from that more traditional conservative background,
Right.
it took, I think, the Iraq War and more importantly, our senator, the state senator at the time, Joseph Lieberman's support of it, very vocal support.
Very, great candidate right there.
Yeah. So I actually, a few years down the line, high school begins, and I was invited by a friend of mine who I think is now affectionately dubbed a Democratic operative in the political sphere in D.C.
Oh, that's cool.
At least, he was working for the Human Rights Campaign for a while, and I think he's now doing some consulting work. But we went and protested outside of Lieberman's office. And I remember carrying this mock tombstone, or this mock casket, to be sort of representative of all the deaths that could have been prevented from this. And that to me kind of resonated far more than meeting, the president at the time. And I realized that what kind of struck me as an individual was sort of direct activism. Mm-hmm. So from that point, I was, attending rallies, typically of more socially progressive ideas. Then must have been, so leading into President Obama winning in 2008, I definitely, was out rallying. I was actually knocking on doors and advocating for him.
So you weren't just all talk, you legit walk the walk.
A lot of times, and it's actually kind of a position that I would strongly now is, I am not a fan of sort of keyboard activism where it's like, oh, let's, start plugging.
Right. I've pulled away. I've been trying to pull away more and more from Facebook, and because you're just not going to change hearts and minds. I hope hopefully something like this medium will, show that people can have coherent, sane, friendly dialogue, and maybe even still disagree on points, and not just call you literally Hitler and then unfriend you on Facebook.
Yeah.
Sorry, I interrupted you.
Continue. Yeah, it's fine. So, let's see, it was OWS, I think, was my next major piece of activism, which kind of seems like a flash of the pan now, but, it was a very long, several weeks in Zuccotti Park, and it really felt to me that...
So OWS would Occupy Wall Street. So just in case OWS is... We don't talk the lingo. We're not in the cool crowd with you and your OWS pals.
Sometimes you got to just block this and continue on through. But
so Occupy Wall Street. Yes.
Yeah, so at Occupy, I became slightly more disillusioned with what at the time seemed like a growing. I don't want to say like extremist, because to me, everything that people were rallying for in Occupy is still prevalent today. I mean, corporate greed is, out the ass. We had federal bailouts of banks, which honestly, we use the phrase, these institutions are too big to fail, when in reality, they should have.
Well, when you exist in a world that is corporatism, of course they will never fail. You have the safety net of big government meddling with what should, like you said, should be a free market, and they should go bankrupt, and they should pay,
It's what I always, the hypocrisy of both the left and the right, I feel, is what kind of disillusioned me heavily. Because the same people who championed free markets were the first calling for bailouts. The auto industry under Obama, as well as Wall Street.
Well, most libertarians, I would argue, my side would argue that the Republicans are not free marketers. They talk the talk.
They're globalists, and there's really no difference between our mainstream conservatives in DC versus the neoliberal left, who
Sure.
are still, you know,
Because I do
fueling-
not lump in what a constitutional conservative is with a rhino Republican. I view them as two very different people or ideologies. Whereas I think someone on the left can say like, "Oh, I'm a liberal," but Antifa is out of their goddamn mind. Like, or, you know, like that. I'm not. That's so far to me. That's like so far left. You know, just two different beasts altogether.
And okay, so post OWS, there is a few more marches and rallies. I was in Montreal for actually a Black Bloc event, which I know is kind of not the right thing to say since everyone's covered up anyways. But
Sure.
I mean, it's cold in Canada, so.
Fair.
But throughout it, the additional marches and rallies, most recently under the Trump presidency as well, so the climate march, the women's march as well. And I think when it comes down to it, while I will very frequently say I'm a traditional liberal, I will always kind of directly try to have and deliver actionable results rather than just, sort of talking the talk about it. I also like long walks on the beach, hiking and camping. But yeah, that's a little bit of my background for why I'm sitting in this chair.
All right, I'll give it a
Okay.
go, and we'll give Jake his background, so the listeners can hear that too, of course. I got my interest. So my very first major in college was radio. So this kind of feels very slightly at home and natural to me. I'm actually enjoying this very much right now. We used to play rock music. My show was specifically 12 to 3, and it was this 3 hours of rock. And then I had my buddy, coincidentally his last name was also Pajoli. He came on and kind of did a co-host with me. And then halfway through the show, a segment just kind of formed where he would find an article online that upset him, that he just disagreed with, or just like politically or in the news, and he would rant about it for about 15-20 minutes with a libertarian slant. And I knew nothing of libertarianism. Zero. None. I consider myself a liberal. Really, at the time. I was like, yeah, universal health care sounds great. I didn't understand maybe the real math and science and logistics of how something like that could have been pulled off. I knew I was pro gay marriage. I knew that I didn't care if you smoked weed. I was anti-war. I wasn't a fan of Bush and the war stuff in Iraq, and just, I knew I was against that. And so he started kind of giving these. I grew up, though. I should say this. I grew up listening to my father in the car, listening to Rush Limbaugh, and
The vast
as-
left-wing conspiracy.
when I was 6-7 years old, and it was just so much boring drab, and I hated it. And he's like, "You'll appreciate this one day," and he's right. I appreciate it now. Being into the politics and stuff, but he he would play it every time. He would never change it to music. He just was anti-music. I don't understand. So anyways, I'm doing the radio show, and it's starting to appeal to me. Like all these ideas, like, oh, okay, it's kind of, yeah, okay. I'm getting a feel for it. And then I saw Ron Paul run, and that was my first introduction to wait, hold on, he's getting booed by the crowd at the Republican debates. He's getting, his little corner supporters are cheering, but they're online, they're snubbing him. They're not giving him media. They talk about, as soon as it was done, Hannity would come on Fox News and be like, let's look online and see who won the poll, and it was or who won the debate, and Ron Paul was just in lead by 80%, and they're like, oh well, the Ron Paul robots are out just spamming the votes. It's like, maybe they thought he had some coherent points and he was speaking to probably more of middle America than what they were thinking. So I really liked his ideas I'm like, oh, maybe I'm a Republican, or is this what? And then that just started the downward spiral, the downward spiral into like, oh, okay, so what libertarianism is? Oh, this is This is great. Oh, who's the libertarian candidate at the time? Oh, Gary Johnson ran. Oh, let's find out more about this. Let's read about what's this Austrian economic stuff, free markets, Milton Friedman. Like
Read about Syria.
read about Aleppo. yeah. What's Aleppo? No, just started like really. Oh, what's I needed to educate myself more, and so I had to go back and read things like Common Sense, like and really maybe even read the Constitution. You're like, oh shit, maybe I actually never read the Constitution of the United States, and read Thomas Sowell on economics issues. They just like really appealed to me, and so that was the college stuff. I then wrote a book called The Young Libertarian, Guide to Economic, Intellectual, and Personal Freedom, available in bookstores everywhere. I have a new book coming out. This is where I'm going to use the segment to pitch. I have a new book coming
Shameless
out.
plugs away.
Shameless plugs, about 3-4 months. It's called Left is Gauche. So that will be out in a couple months. And there's definitely even opinions in there that I have molded and changed since my first The Young Libertarian book. So that'll be out in a couple months. But before all that, or after the book got published, I was invited to speak at Yale for Adam Kokesh's Freedom Tour. Do you know who Adam Kokesh is?
Can't say I do.
Okay, so he was one of the libertarian candidates this year, along with Joe Jorgensen and other people. And he was a nice guy. He was nice, and we shook hands, and he was polite, and he's a good speaker. And I would even describe him as, oh, there he is. Yeah, that's him. So we have laptops, by the way, for the people. We don't have video for our first episode. But we have laptops in front of us, and we're able to look this stuff up. He is out of his goddamn mind.
Yeah, sorry for cutting off. Single issue of orderly dissolution of the federal government.
That's
his
his first.
only
That's
thing.
the first thing. It's literally, if I win the presidency, federal government gone. We are knocking this down to state and then down to communal. It is as small of government as you can imagine. And so I'm up there. First of all, he also has a book. The book is called Freedom. I'm not bashing Adam Kokesh. He was very nice, and it was a very good experience to be able to be a speaker to open up for him at Yale University to the whatever 20, 30 people we spoke to at this little tour. So he wrote a book. I think it's called Freedom. He wrote it while he was in jail. So he's just like constantly getting arrested for being at protests like you, like weed and just like guns. Like that's how he's literally the term America. Like no discredit to him. He loves America. Like he loves freedom.
It's funny because he's licensed by Russia Times.
Okay, sure, but I don't know all those details. But so I got to speak for him. Whatever. That was a thing. Cool. Someone from that event then invited me to speak at the Connecticut Libertarian Convention thing. I was a keynote speaker. I was like, there's like 7 speakers on the dais. I was number 4. I was like dead in the middle, and I got booed out like pitchforks and torches for what my topic was. The thing. Okay, maybe this could be a whole nother episode where I talk about where I got booed out of the Libertarian Convention. But like that's a whole different story. We don't have to do that for the very first episode. But anyways, so that was like I took a break. I'm like, okay. So literally I dipped my toes into politics, and the first thing I get was not a room full, in my opinion, a room of libertarians, but a room of Republicans in sheep clothing that like just didn't like what I was saying. So I got really like I pulled away from politics. I said, no, I'm not gonna do the public stuff. It's just too much. I got getting booed out of now this had more people than the 30. This was like maybe 75, 80 people, but like still it was whatever. It's my first time being a keynote speaker at a political convention, and like it was at least 2/3 of the crowd hated me, and then after it was done, 1/3 of the crowd came up, shook my hand, said I liked what you said, keep going, But regardless, it definitely knocked the wind out of my sails, and so I said, I'm just going to stick to the writing. So I started to write the books more and do that, and now we're doing a podcast. So this is going to be my medium and outlet to get the politics off my chest, and not have to. Well, there might be backlash. Who knows? I might say something that's not politically correct, and then the PC police will come after us.
That's why we have Jake to edit through, which know if it seems like a decent segue over to.
Oh yes, Jake. You.
Thanks. So yeah, my name is Jake Rudder. I've been a long time friend of Travis's. We go back way back to the early middle school days, even. Um, I also definitely lean liberal, but also a bit on the atheist nihilist side. Um,
I think for the record, all three of us are atheists.
sure, yeah, we're all. Well, I muted you guys. Go ahead and say that again.
What was that?
So for the record, what?
Oh, I was gonna say for the record, all three of us are atheists.
Yeah, exactly.
We're all atheists, even the guy on the right.
Yeah,
Not
yeah.
so many right atheists, maybe. Well, the Pendulets of the world.
There's probably more than are
Yeah,
recognized. You know
I
what I'm
think
saying? Right.
commonly it's because being a conservative in America means that you typically have to embrace the religious right.
If you want to do it, if you want
If you wanna
to go for
go
office,
somewhere on it.
if you want to go for office,
Yeah, yeah.
But I think your
Which is like-
day-to-day Republicans.
But honestly,
Really
you,
care
you
less.
have to do it as a Democrat too, which
Yeah.
is like one of the worst parts of our political system is that there really isn't a separation of the two, even though it's in our constitution.
Right? Didn't someone like Barney Frank have to run? I was like, yep, I believe in God, and I went to church, and then all of a sudden he retired, and he was just like, fuck
yeah,
everything. I'm
exactly,
done. Like
yeah.
it's
Even
not
to
real.
the same point, Bernie Sanders in 2016, when he was running, had to openly come out and say he is a non-practicing.
Yeah, he skirted around it a little bit.
skirted it,
Yeah.
It's like
And then
it's insanity.
with the email leaks from the DNC, and they were saying, "Oh, we can't. He's Jewish. We can't have this." And he's just like, "I haven't been practicing. I haven't been practicing Hebrew or the Jewish
Judaism.
faith- Judaism, sorry, for like decades." And he still was sort of thrown into the. He was painted with the religious brush.
Right.
Sorry,
But anyways,
continue.
me.
Me.
Obviously, I've got an AV background. That's why I'm doing this part of it. I've been working in the AV field for a long time. It's like, even from both a hobbyist and a professional standpoint, but certainly it's not my main focus anymore. I moved more towards like the software development. I also recently spoke at a convention last year. I spoke at the ASTC, which is the Association of Science Technology Centers. What I spoke about has nothing to do with politics, though. I spoke about the use of game design and game theory to teach science to kids.
Cool.
And essentially, that's my job. Is I build interactives from a software perspective for the education of adults and youths, making science fun for people of all ages. And I think video games are a great avenue with which to do that because video game design is specifically designed to engage you, right?
Mhm.
But anyways, if you go back farther, I have a pretty deep background in philosophy. I have a philosophy and film degree, so I have
Useful.
certainly like to speak towards those things, even though I don't use them at all on a professional level. I do. I would argue that I use them professionally, but it's something that you wouldn't say directly follows my career path.
So is Freud right? Do we just all want to bang our moms?
Freud is overrated, for sure. I guess I subscribed pretty heavily to utilitarianism,
I think it'd be a little difficult for Jake and myself.
Descartes, Yeah, our brothers have passed away.
Oh,
I
really?
grew up-
I didn't know that. Oh, I'm sorry. I didn't.
both of
No clue.
That actually segues pretty well to what I want to talk about my family background. I come from what you would consider to be a conservative in practice or in theory, I guess, household. But my father, he's been working for the military-industrial complex his whole life, so he feels obligated to side politically with conservatives, traditional conservatives, big military. That said, he used to DJ at a gay club as a great artist, so I don't know. He certainly has nothing. He certainly is not socially Republican in any way, which that's neither here nor there. My mom was always very liberal growing up, but then like as she got closer to her death, she kind of like started finding God. She was a Wiccan when I was born, practicing Wiccan.
So she was the one. Do you mind if I ask how old she was? Or
She was 56 when she passed away.
I should ask. I meant like what year was she born? She was
She was born
Was she a flower child? Was she like?
She was. She was. My dad,
child of the
both of them
60s.
were flower childs.
Okay, so she was the
more
one
so.
putting flowers into gun barrels, like
Sure, absolutely.
that
Yeah.
famous picture.
What year was she born? I don't want to do the math right now. My dad was 62. She was 59, I think. Is that right?
It's young.
She was young. I loved her. I still love her for sure. But yeah, she had problems her whole life, mental and emotional ones. She had a really rough life. It was a miracle she had 3 kids, honestly, with how bad she had it. And of course, things weren't always perfect, but she was a good mother. She loved us.
Yeah,
She was
did
very.
all right. She did all right with you. You turned out all right.
I mean, she was very. I mean, that's the thing is, I find myself to be the median between my dad and my mom. My dad's mathematical, engineering, very focused on his life and his career. My mother was very liberal, very, very much for the soul and the spirit. And even though I'm not religious, like I feel the vibes of that in my life. And she's the reason why I went and got an art degree in the first place. Like. She had a film. She's the reason I got into film. She's the reason I got into art. She's the reason I got into Magic the fucking Gathering. Like she bought me the Portal starter set back when I was like 12 years old or something, and that set me for life for that shit.
I was
And
gonna
now
see if we
all
could,
those cards are worth so much goddamn money.
I was gonna
They
see.
still exist somewhere.
I was gonna see if we could go a whole show without talking about Magic the Gathering, and we couldn't do it. We couldn't last 20 minutes.
I'm glad that I'm the one who derailed it. No, but yeah, I had a mostly good life growing up. I mean, things weren't always good. She had a drug problem. My father wasn't good at dealing with it, even though at the time he was doing his best, and I in no way fault him for it. It's not easy. But now that I'm an adult and I have been an adult for a while, I can look back and I know that there's ways to deal with these kind of situations that allow for growth, and I think my father didn't know how to do that. That said, again, he did his best. He was a great father. He took care of us. He still takes care of me, and I love him. This isn't any condemnation of him or anybody else.
I think this podcast is very therapeutic for Dave.
Sure.
I think this got deep.
But that said, so anyway, so politically, I'm somewhere between my dad and my mom. Definitely, certainly liberal leaning for sure. And I mean, in the same way that Travis does, I have no faith in the establishment of liberals, but I think liberal ideals are good. And I think anything we can do to seek progress, is good as long as it doesn't, it's not at the loss of something important,
It's actually, I was gonna say, it's kind of an interesting point when you look at progress itself, because
I think progress is always important, regardless of your umbrella, your political umbrella, your perspective. I think progress is something to seek, because there's always problems that should be addressed. That's progress. As
long as from my side, as long as there's no force involved, like from the heavy hand of government, like I guess.
Therein lies the difference, probably, right?
It could progress. My question, I guess, here is progress. Could it be a subjective term? Is progress to you different? What progress is to me? Is progress different to Travis? Are we just doing is it just mob rule, greater good?
Well, like I said, I call myself utilitarian. So
yeah, I was gonna say, like, where exactly? But you even had a sort of a qualified piece to that, though, because it's progress so long as we don't lose anything important. Importance itself is subjective. Everyone is going to, as Tanner pointed out, what may be good for 70% of the population could be wildly detrimental to, a small portion of the remaining population.
So is the government
eat the rich? Is what you're trying to say?
Capable of even pulling off such a feat?
I mean, the last time they tried, it was the Trail of Tears.
You're not, yeah.
And that was it was an atrocity.
Yeah.
So
a very dark stain on American history.
Yes, but I'm sure it was rationalized as this is progress.
It's also probably not good for me to talk into my glass as I'm drinking wine because the mic just probably will not pick that what I just set up.
But that said,
Here's
when
the
you
question:
are,
at what point do we review the wine during the show? That's really the problem. That's got to be a segment in and of itself where we talk about the wine.
Oh, I thought it was just right in the beginning. Just say the name
where it's
and
from.
just kind of. Oh, okay. Well, yeah, we could do this. So I think for a cab, it's sweet.
It's sweet.
Yeah.
It's
Absolutely.
but I like that because I don't like it's super dry cotton mouth. I think.
See, I'm
you
a
might
dry
like
wine
cotton
fan,
mouth.
though.
So I am a fan of dry, full body reds, and this, I mean, it's certainly sweet. I think the bottle itself kind of describes it as hints black cherry, hints of raisin and vanilla, which is always funny whenever you see wines describe themselves in things that are not wine, because there's no berries or black cherries in this whatsoever.
I would say there's almost no bite to this wine.
Yeah, it is a very sweet
Very
wine.
smooth, very sweet. Which again, I see the appeal of it. It's not really for me, I don't think.
Not for you. Okay. See, this is more for me because I tend to like Rieslings and Moscatos. Mm-hmm. And
Like I said
okay, yeah, basic bitch, whatever.
Yeah.
When we were
I
walking
am-
here, I was
I am
like, I'm a
black
Merlot
hop-
and Cab, Pinot Noir kind of fan. So my cabs that I like tend to lean more in that direction.
Yeah.
But even those are kind of softer reds. Like
Well,
they're
Pinot
not,
Noirs are definitely have a full body. There's a depth to a Pinot Noir.
I mean, it's like the lightest red wine outside of rosés and Zins.
So
That's
how would we do a 1 to 10 scale for our cabs that we?
It's not. This is not bad. I
1 to
wouldn't
10
call it bad.
Glaza.
A 1 to 10. For me on a cab, like would I buy this again? Yes, I would give it like a 7.5 to an 8 because it is sweeter and I like sweeter wines.
So it kind of seems like I was just like, trashing this wine, which, is not the case. It's a very drinkable red. I would probably give it like 6.5.
Yeah, I'm a 6,
Yeah.
5.5, 6, like mid range.
Okay, so just so you know,
Jake is a harsh critic.
also I think the price. You should know the price tag. I think that might be relevant to the taste. Like,
It's very important. I think.
Actually,
if it
before
tastes like
you say that,
Okay.
I would like to guess
Are we gonna do prices right rules?
Oh yeah, see,
without going over.
$1, Bob.
This was an $11.99 bottle of wine.
Okay.
I'm gonna go $9.99.
Wow, no, it was more.
How was it?
Yeah, it was $21.99.
Really?
I was
Yeah.
trying. Well, you set us up with this like, oh, the price tag might surprise you.
No, it's $21.99.
I wonder if
You
because
know,
it's
that's what I would
listed
ask.
as a reserve bottle for.
So yeah, there's a regular radius, and that one has chocolate hints to it. That one was like $18.99.
Okay.
And then this one with vanilla was $21.99. But this was like a limited amount. They pump out the regular radius like
Hollow
candy.
Yeah.
There's not as much.
The vanilla it does come through for sure. It's definitely a note that you can pick up on.
I think it's commonly where we're saying the sweetness is coming
Sure.
from. is
I think
vanilla cheese.
chocolate's something we expect more with wine, and then vanilla is kind of more of a surprise.
I would be interested to try the regular radius one on it. I think that would be.
So now I'm just because you said 11 and you said $9.99. I'm afraid I overpaid. Maybe I
No,
paid too
'cause-
much for a wine that isn't worth the price tag.
So I would have guessed around the 20. I thought because you were saying you wouldn't guess the price.
Oh, I misled.
I mean,
I was shooting low. Exactly.
yeah, it's again. You see a lot. I mean, whiskey is notorious for this as well. When they say like small batch, whatever, artisanal, whatever, all bullshit. Usually, it's there as a marketing piece to get other pieces. Now that said, it is a very drinkable red.
I'm about to pour myself a second glass here, so
Yeah.
we're getting low.
I will say that I think
I don't know if I would buy it again.
Yeah, if you buy it again.
Yeah, because I mean,
well,
you are right. I prefer like bitter. I am like black coffee with espresso each
Yeah.
morning. Like,
Yeah,
I
I-
fuck my taste buds up.
I like, but see, I like a fruit profile though. I think Travis. I'm maybe between the two of you. I like a fruit profile.
So if I'm at 8 and he's at 6.5, you're like in the 7.
But I actually put it lower than Travis did though.
Oh, did you?
I was more like 5.
which is why I was surprised by.
That said, I think it would be a killer sangria. You can make an amazing sangria with this. I just think I'm expecting for my cab something a little more balanced, a little less sweet. That's really what I think.
So next week, we'll try a different cab. You have cabs, right? So we'll try one of yours and we'll review that one, whatever that one might be next week. So yeah, that's our review segment. We'll try to do it in the beginnings from here on out.
I think that's the way to get it out. I mean, we did introductions, so that's good.
Yeah, I mean, editing wise, you can always
This is the pilot.
put it.
I can move things around, sure.
It's the pilot. We're supposed to mess up and fumble, and that way when people listen
Well, like I said before we would start
Be like,
recording,
oh wow, they've come so far.
oh man, you want to listen to the pilot, man? They were just so much more raw back then before they sold out.
We should just put this out there. We should maybe put a break or 2 breaks in for ourselves, and that's no editing wise. That's not a problem at all. So
Put what?
a break or 2 in for ourselves. Like we take a break after this, and we take a break after that. Where
Oh,
we
sure,
just
sure.
We just take a break, use the bathroom, do what we got to do.
Yeah.
Which is I'm saying this now, which means this is the break.
And we're back. You are listening to Left Right Cab. I'm Tanner Hall. I'm here with Travis Vigili and Jake Rudder. We kind of started the show doing what we do. We review our lovely Cabernet that we're drinking. And we gave you guys a little bit of background of who we are for this very first episode. Obviously, that's not going to be every episode. We don't need to do that. It seems
I love talking about myself.
but so just at least for our pilot episode, let listeners know kind of who we are, where we come from, what we're kind of all about. So I have a question for you guys, and I want to know what you think. I'll give you my opinion first and let you guys destroy me with logic and facts. Trump was nominated for a Nobel Prize. I think he should get it 100%. And here's why I think why he's justified to be nominated at least. Okay, maybe I came in a little strong, but why I think his nomination is justified, because from the right's perspective, Obama got a Nobel Prize for being a person, right? Like he won the presidency, and then a couple months later he got a Nobel Prize, but he hadn't done anything other than just be like the first black president. Like it wasn't really for anything crazy. Trump, his nomination is really for his brokering peace recently between Israel and the United Arab Emirates. Am I saying that correct?
Yep, UAE.
The UAE. Monumental. For me, the guy that's blasted to hate the Muslims and the Jews brokered peace between the Muslims and the Jews. That is huge. Months before that, he helped broker peace between North and South Korea. When I watched it live, like I was fortunate enough to be in front of a television to watch him. I don't know if you guys watched the video. Watch him at the North and South Korean border with both of the with Kim Jong Il. I'm sorry, I don't know the leader of South Korea's name. And they were there together, shaking hands. And then to watch Trump walk over the border of North Korea with Kim Jong Il, they shook hands. Then to watch them walk back. Then they did it with the South Korean leader, and they walked. And then Kim Jong Un walked over into South Korea. Like they just did this very mutual handshake, and they came to the table. This is a guy that wanted to nuke us and wanted us off the map, and Trump was able to get him to come to a table and talk with a neighboring country they've been at war at for God knows how long, and along with ourselves
since inception.
Since its inception. Not only that, at the Israel UAE peace summit or peace meeting that he helped broker, he was also able to convince, I think it's Syria. I may have misheard of Serbia, but I think it's Syria and Kosovo to come to a table.
So that would be Serbia.
Serbia and Kosovo to come to the table and also talk peace. This is the first Republican president that has been so anti-war. I think he's doing phenomenal on foreign policy. He has not brought us into any new wars, which is kind of the MO of the Republicans. There are no new wars, no new countries wanting to kill us. Whereas Obama put us in 3 different countries. So I hate to be the guy that's just like, well, what about Obama did this? I hate to use that trope because it's so easy to go to. But in this instance, the left, which champions the anti-war banner, were crickets when Obama was doing the warmongering and the drone striking of children. And now Trump is brokering peace among nations that have been at war for hundreds and thousands of years, and he's a Republican. And it's not getting covered by the media at all. Obviously, I am a staunch person on that the media is heavy left and biased to the left. And that to me is atrocious. Here, if you Google Trump right now, it's going to be Trump lied. Trump lied about knowledge of the coronavirus. That's the new article. If you literally Google Trump news, that's what's showing. Not anything about peace brokering between 3 nations. that have been slaughtering each other. Now, let me get your perspective. Am I wrong? Am I crazy? I think he's at least a solid candidate to get the Nobel Prize, and well deserving of it.
So I'm gonna step in on this one first, I guess. So. There's a common. It's actually a quote by Steve Bannon. That's whenever anything is going wrong, flood the area with shit and distract and deflect was the overall strategy for things. Am I pleased that there is peace between Israel and the UAE? Absolutely. Like, the more that you can stabilize an area, arguably the better. That said, Netanyahu is currently being investigated for corruption and fraud and established war crimes as well against Palestinians. So with this in place, I actually have a good friend in Tel Aviv now. And I asked her about it because I was like, this seems good. Like, this is objectively a good thing.
But no acknowledgement to the fact that like Palestinians are rocketing, like literally sending missiles at Israel's borders and walls, to protect the sovereignty of Israel. You don't think that
I will have a radical position right now.
It's going to be a radical, because I think that's justified. I'm not saying war crimes are justified. What I'm saying is
there is a difference between firing an RPG from a rooftop that will be shot down. The Iron Dome for Israel is a very effective countermeasure for small arms fire and RPGs and the sort.
For the record, we're not anti-Israel, I'm assuming.
I disagree that there should ever be a nation established by any religious sect. I don't think that we should have.
So your atheism is influencing your political position here?
In this instance, yes.
Do you believe the United States? I'm sorry to cut you off. I just want to want some framework before, so I kind of know where you're coming from.
The U.S.
should the United States be an ally to Israel? Like, should we be allies and work with them cooperatively? And
absolutely.
I'm against foreign aid, but I just think we should cut all foreign aid. But I believe there should be economic trade. So Jake wants to have clear something.
I have two things to say to this.
I would like to make
while we're here. Just want to say it. I'll move back to you. Okay. Two things I want to say. First of all, I think most of us, actual like floor liberals, would say that Obama should have got the Peace Prize either, though.
Should not
have had the Nobel Peace Prize. I mean, that's in that I don't think Trump should have it. I also don't think Obama should have had it either. Secondly, I will say.
So the three things I listed, you don't think that warrants to bring peace? Those three, bringing those nations together, is not worthy of a Nobel Peace Prize.
We can get to that.
Okay.
But the second thing I want to say here, before we move on, because I know we're going to move on very shortly, because this is how conversations work, is that Israel as a country probably shouldn't have been founded in the way it was. Like, I think conceptually it makes sense.
Annexing land from people who have lived there for thousands of years.
Exactly. And therein lies the problem and why it's been a catalyst for so long.
Well, that's
whether or not
argument of who, who's the rightful,
as
who's
much
at the land
as
first,
much as I was,
Sure.
as much as I believe that the Holocaust was horrible and we should have done something about it. There's something about that specific action.
Right, but we're a nation founded on annexing land. And we're proud to be an American. We're at least so it's everyone annexed land from multiple groups of people,
like Crimea.
multiple times over.
Sorry,
multiple times over, and it was given. Land was taken back by people, and it was won by other people, and it's.
So, okay.
I think that's just a part of history that we're just never going to escape, and it is what it is.
Israel has been constantly expanding. That's the sort of
so back to what you were going to say, though. I want you to give it back.
Sorry, yes, you were on a thought, and
so I don't think that we should have faith-based nations. Period. Government must be secular, otherwise you will establish a system of oppression.
I don't think the Israeli people are being oppressed.
No, I'm saying that they're the ones oppressing Palestinians. So they've annexed the Gaza Strip. Now, that said, it is defended as, they are truly fighting for their right to exist because they are.
Right. When you have countries like Iran saying, wipe them off the map.
Absolutely.
That's
So-
abhorrent statement.
Yeah, I'm not saying absolutely to wipe out Israel.
Okay.
That's not what I'm saying.
Okay, yeah. Like,
saying
we want
it's-
Israel off the map is an appalling ideology.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Now, what is being done in the name of defense is the problematic element of it. So, Mirrored Edge or Razor's Edge, or I think it was Mirrored Edge. Maybe that was a video game. There was an excursion that Israel lost, I think, like 14 IDF soldiers in attacks from Gaza. And they killed 14,000, I think, or maybe 1,400 Palestinians as a response.
Sir, so I understand that countries do atrocious things, and I understand. I also am with you. I believe government should be secular, but I don't have a problem with the culture of the people of that country being religious.
Absolutely,
Because I'm very
people
pro
are
freedom
free to practice as they see
freedom
fit.
of religion. That's fine.
But when you
But-
codify a legal system in a religious foundation, that is where you're going to have oppression take place.
But I don't
we
think
see
that
it in
you guys-
India now.
Right. But I don't know if it's answering my original question. I asked, are those three things, are brokering country, the peace between those 6 countries, worthy of a Nobel Prize, and would you be upset if he won it? And,
No, I
instead
wouldn't
of
give a
going
shit
to
about
like it's like, well, let's nitpick the atrocities of each of those countries. We could have 18 podcasts of that, because Kosovo and Syria.
I mean, the
That's enough to-
Kosovari were massacred by the Serbians,
Sure.
and
I'm saying Syria. I'm sorry, Serbia. I apologize. I'm misspeaking.
I have a lot of Albanian friends who were Kosovari and actually were relocated here.
Right. So I just want. My original
so-
question is the focus of Trump here, and is the media reflecting this positively as you should be, which is a good news thing. Like peace on earth is something that should be promoted and screened from the highest mountaintop, but it's not being right now. At least from my perspective, or from there's even libertarians who are being like, hey, we're very anti-war, and he's brokering some peace. He's not putting us in any wars. There's a lot of libertarians that are going to vote Trump this election.
Likely. Now, one of the things in place, so he was nominated by a right-wing Norwegian politician, not an American for it. So that's probably why it hasn't made.
He was a Norwegian guy, right? I was
Yeah.
reading. Yeah,
Yeah.
he was Norwegian, and the guy was not a fan of Obama.
No,
From
he's
the- from the
very
article-
documented right-wing.
Yes, from the documents I read, he yes.
Now, that said, is brokering peace worthy of the Nobel Peace Prize? I think by definition, absolutely it is.
Gore Vidal got the Nobel Peace Prize for brokering peace.
Kissinger.
Henry Kissinger.
Kissinger is also a
and-
terrible human being.
Sure, but he to help end the ceasefire in Vietnam, Kissinger did his thing.
But that's kind of what I'm saying on it, though. Is like you can
But how much you
have
have to do?
objections.
They did kind of like one big thing. This is 6 countries total, 3 different parts of the world.
Now, when it comes down to it, is the nomination warranted? Yeah, absolutely.
I'm not saying he's going to win.
He probably isn't, but that doesn't matter.
I-
Still
I-
being a Nobel
Do you
nominated
do you
person is a very
understand
impressive feat.
how many cities in America would burn if Trump was given? I think the left would lose their goddamn mind. The internet would explode, like on fire. Our computers in front of us right now would just catch fire.
So I don't think that it will. I think what we'll then see is the left probably diminishing the relevance of it.
Okay.
And I think that will have kind of greater.
But isn't
a
that the
greater
problem
impact.
though? With Obama winning, that already diminished the
Absolutely.
relevance of it.
No.
And as liberal, I say that Obama winning was the wrong choice. But I think there's been a
Can we
history.
hold on?
There's a
You guys
history-
keep-
there's a
keep
his-
talking. I'm going to look something up.
There's a history of Nobel Peace Prize winners who,
Being sitting U.S. presidents.
well, in general, but I mean, beside whatever president who is sitting,
Okay.
diminish the value of it because they weren't people who deserved it. You know,
So-
it's just a fucking prize. Who gives a shit?
From the Nobel Peace Prize page or whatever, or I'm sorry, the whatever. It links to 2009 Peace Prize. Okay. The reason why Obama won, in their words, was, quote, extraordinary efforts to strengthen international diplomacy and cooperation between people. That's called being the president. Okay? That's called being the leader of the free world. That's your job.
We've established that
You're
Trump
like-
is not, actually.
Huh?
Trump is not the leader of the free world anymore.
But
Ba-ba-ba-ba.
idealistically, that's your job is to if you're going to be literally
At some point, I'll have sound effects here. I'll just press a button. It goes.
the whole world doesn't tune in to the like stay up till midnight to watch the elections of Sweden or Germany or insert country here. Everywhere around the world, fireworks go off when maybe not when Trump won because the world was just against him at the get-go, but when Obama went off, people around the world in every country were out in public, masses of people when it went off, fireworks were off around the world.
I was one of those people reveling in the streets.
So I voted Obama first term. So it's a celebrated thing. But this statement of extraordinary efforts to strengthen international diplomacy and cooperation between people is not. Every president's done that, or at least made an attempt in some way, shape, or form.
So,
or should be at least. I just don't.
I don't think that was actually lost on
Did Al Gore win a
Obama.
Nobel Prize?
Yeah, for climate change.
That makes more sense. Yeah. Al Gore brought awareness to climate change, and really, even though I'm not a fan of Al Gore, I love his work on Futurama, though. So his daughter,
the Emperor of the Moon.
His daughter was a writer for Futurama. And
that's why he came.
Yes, so he's able to voice act right.
But yeah, sure. I would say that. Yeah, I mean, especially off the get-go,
But his makes sense.
Al Gore makes sense because climate change is real. We're all science people here. We all believe in science. It's a real thing.
Well, it doesn't matter. That's one thing.
How about
Science doesn't have to believe in you.
I'm sorry if you're a listener and you don't believe in it.
That's one thing I will adamantly fight on the right against. I even write about it in my books. It's like the right or the hardcore conservatives about the climate stuff is just wrong. Science is science. Wrong. 1 + 1 = 2. That's it.
If we lose a listener for this, I'm okay with that.
If you had if right now the show is being recorded in Travis's lovely new home. If you had some
capitalist machine,
or if you had a electrical issue, and you called in 100 plumbers. If you called in 100 electricians.
That's a problem.
There's a problem. If you have an electrical problem, you call in 100 electricians, and 98 of them said, "Yeah, you're gonna have to rewire this whole house. This is really bad wiring. This is a fire hazard." And 2 of them said, "Yeah, you can let it go for a little while. It's not as bad. You're good. You're good." You're gonna listen to the 98, not the 2, and that's what climate change. 98 are saying this, and 2 are like, it's maybe not as bad. There's some conflicting data. 98. So you would listen to it.
Yeah, to keep it in the realm of science for it, it's a well-established fact that smoking increases your risk of lung cancer.
What a twist.
What exactly? Now, the same figures are in place. Like, if 98 doctors all say smoking will increase your likelihood of cancer, and 2 go, the jury's still out.
The jury is out, exactly.
You don't say it's balanced. Because it's not. Overwhelming evidence is in place. But that's, again, I think but the position is...
Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, the right will take the position of, people are conflicted about this. Because there's a...
well, the problem is the left doesn't have faith in what the left or what the climate change people, not climate, so they're not climate deniers. The other opposite, the left, are saying is, well, you told us by 2005 and 2015 the ice caps would be melted. You told us by this would happen. You told us this much of land would be eroded. And none of this has really happened. Or at least the apocalyptic stuff.
The 30 feet.
Sure, it hasn't happened. So when we're like, how can we take you at your word now? If the science is so true, I'm just playing devil's advocate here.
For sure.
Because I don't agree with this, but I'm saying there's the right stance. And so how can we take you at your word now that it's kind of like the guy who's predicting the end of the biblical stuff, end of the year, end of the world stuff. It's like, I did mischeck my math. It's actually in 10 years from now. I did the math wrong in the book.
Yeah, I mean, doomsday.
You're wrong every time.
Doomsday people like that, I think, is a different position than, scientists coming out and saying...
documentaries were saying by 2015 the ice caps are gone. And
provided, and there's a very key word there, provided nothing is done.
We have made strides. And we,
exactly. Kyoto went in place, or the Kyoto protocols were established for it. The Paris climate the Accord. Thank you. Now, are all of the nations adhering to it? No, they're trying. Even the U.S., despite pulling out from it under the
state level,
decisions are being made, and we're seeing them come through.
LA smog is still pretty rough.
Exactly. I mean, actually, not so much now. Compliments of the pandemic, though.
Yes, I saw a picture where it kind of cleared up a little bit.
Thank Spaghetti Monster for the pandemic, right?
Yeah. Cheers to the Flying Spaghetti Monster for facilitating COVID, because the Earth has never been healthier.
But
allegedly.
So Tanner, I actually have a question for you, because obviously your political perspective.
Yeah.
If the central government is not the body responsible for addressing climate change, who is?
The free market. So here's my example. My example would be Toyota. It's a perfect example. So I'm not saying it's an NLBO, and I'm not saying I'm against the EPA. I don't think that should even be a thing. Just in general, I think it's a waste of bureaucracy and money. I think it should just be left more locally to the states. It should be a small government. I don't think
so. In Connecticut, it's the DEEP, the Department of Energy and Environmental Protection, local state-based agency.
Oh, fine, as small as you can get it. If the state is as big as it can go, fine. Even though there's a lot of libertarians who would be like the Adam Kokesh of the world, just be like, fuck it. But anyways, my example is the free market. And the reason is there's a bigger motivate. The biggest motivator is the consumer and their wallet. Toyota did not make the Prius under the pressure of federal government. It was the consumer who said, hey, we want green products. We want green energy. We want a clean car. Can you provide this to us? And when Toyota realized there's a market to make a profit incentive there, they made the Prius, and they did it. And it wasn't under federal strong hand of the federal government. It was this consumer speaking with their wallet that helped push a greener car on the road. And that to me was a quicker solution, a better solution, and a more economically prosperous, because it gave people jobs, it gave people a product that they wanted. So that it's a very broad brushstroke of an example to pull out of my ass here in 5 seconds in front of you.
No, I see your perspective.
Yeah,
I'm not saying you're wrong necessarily. I'm saying
there's a lot of answers within the free market that we're not exploiting and using.
Certainly in my head,
we should be.
In my head, it's a combined effort, I think. But
that might end up being what it has to be.
I think you have an issue, though, when you rely entirely on the free market for this, because the free market can't demand something that exists outside the lifetime of the consumer. You know what I mean? So,
well, the consumer decides what lives and dies.
Sure, but I'm saying if you're
outside of certain examples,
if you're mid 40-somethings, right?
Theoretically, what?
If you're a mid 40-somethings consumer and climate change is not going to ever affect your life, why would you care? And also, beyond that, who's disseminating the information about climate change to you to care about it in the first place? There has to be a centralized something that tells you it's a problem in the first place before you can even give a shit about it.
I think it will affect that age, for that age group. I know your example was a select 40-year-old. So let's say a 40, 50-year-old probably owns a home, and running through electricity, running your central air unit because it's hot, the temperatures are rising outside and making your house hotter is getting expensive to run the AC all the time through electricity means. So then you have the free market. In comes Elon Musk. In comes not Tesla, but his company, where he makes those solar panels that are cheaper than the other competing solar panels, not issued by government again, not like federally subsidized energy companies that that the government plays a hand in.
The solar energy industry is heavily subsidized.
It is. So that's what I'm saying. But
that's a government program, though.
Yeah,
it's a government program.
That's not free market.
But what I'm saying is Elon Musk comes in and say, we're developing these solar panels from us.
They also were subsidized.
And also consider.
But the thing is, he's giving it at the market at a much lower rate. It was like $11 a panel, as opposed to $1,100 a panel. Yeah. And so he's able to have flexibility with the market cost. That's maybe. So I understand he's still being subsidized. Yeah. But as far as the market price to the consumer, and we're going to give you cheaper, better quality, and longer lasting solar panels that you can put on your house that will charge your house up and get your AC going in your house, and it'll be cheaper than paying electric. That to me, and now you're not using electricity as much. That to me is an answer the free market provided, or the market provided.
Yeah.
Because there's a profit incentive there.
But so there's always this is the thing. When it comes to saying, like the free market will save us, they won't. The free market will treat you. there's far more money to be made in the treatment of issues rather than solving them.
Sure.
You see it in the pharmaceutical
Absolutely.
industry.
Uh-huh.
Curing cancer isn't a major concern. Treating cancer is a more profitable one. And if the sole point of a business is beholden to their shareholders, which is the current position of a company, is to remain profitable.
Yep. You won't hear a disagreement from me. That is the point of a company.
So when, with few exceptions, Elon Musk is not the...
Also, the guy
the rule.
who discovered the cure for polio and just gave it to the world.
Yeah, I mean, insulin was...
That was not
just
the free market, though.
No, it wasn't. Yeah, I'm actually agreeing with Travis at this point.
So when you have situations like that, the free market, there are many issues that can be solved through effectively managing and leveraging resources held by corporations. I'm not one to sit here and say like, oh no, the free market is evil. We need to return to a socialist state. But I do think there are times when the free market will actually, or large corporations, I would say within various markets, will push things against the will of the consumer. When we talk about...
But I believe, I just believe there's countless evidence where the market corrects itself.
But see,
my example,
that's
this
the
is the
problem,
setup.
Tanner, though, is that you're talking about correction at a macro level, and what if the free market's too late? You can't correct for things that are already done. You can't correct an environment that's already destroyed. You know what I mean?
Sure. Well, you can.
Well, yes,
You
so-
you treat it.
I
'Cause
think
again,
I think we also have to just acknowledge that we don't have a capitalist system in this country.
Sure,
First and
we
foremost,
don't.
it is not free market capital. It is very
don't.
corporatism.
It's a plutocracy.
Yes, everything is subsidized by the government. Government has its hand in everything, and they pick favorites. And there's a meme online you'll find about, like, it'll show a picture of the farmer being like, look, the free handouts, and universal health care, and the subsidies, and then it shows like, oh, I'll take my farm subsidies now, thank you. Like, they're literally doing it too. So,
Yeah.
but
So I do want to step in and say that when it comes to
I just had another example. Continue.
so with the market correcting itself, the main issue at place is that there is no truly globalized single market. You have multiple competing industries, which oftentimes are not in alignment with each other. So when we think of
That's what we call competition, children.
So
But not, so it's not competition.
It's not because they're not competing for the same product lines or service lines
for the same clients.
So the example I want to give is, so General Motors in the 90s released the EV1, which was one of the first electric cars. Fully electric, arguably better fuel economy than the existing Teslas off of a single charge. So the Model 3, I think, is comparable to what Model 3 released in the mid-2010, 2015, I think. So the EV1 comes out in the mid-90s. As good of an electric car, if not better. Completely destroyed, arguably, by the fossil fuel industry. Because if you have a fully electric car, you don't need gasoline, you don't need oil to maintain the engine itself. It's a battery and a crankshaft. Now,
You're just saying they're just too big. They're just too powerful. They're just going to crush any new innovation that comes out.
No. I'm saying because this is the thing. This was the oil and gas industry that directly impacted.
It wasn't the motor industry.
The motor industry, the automotive industry. So you saw the Prius succeed because it was a hybrid. And a lot of the more fuel efficient cars that we have, anything with an EcoBoost, different setups for it that still run gas but are electric in, when it's sub 30 miles per hour and it's, braking will charge it. It's ultimately saying, look, oil and gas, we will play within the rules, but we're going to innovate from that further. So that just to me is why I'm always a little jaded when it comes to saying like, oh, the will of the consumer wants this. I mean, if the EV1 came out now, it probably would have dominated, as we're seeing with Tesla. Like the Model 3 is like, there's a wait list to get them.
Let's also talk about the greatest moment ever when he revealed that Halo truck thing, and then was just like, these windows are brake proof, and then he broke them.
The fact I am still pleased
with a hammer or whatever, or with a baseball bat, whatever it was.
One of the things with Elon Musk is like a quick aside.
By the way, I love Elon Musk, and I just in general,
Absolutely,
and I love Tesla. I have stock in Tesla, and I am, I'm on board. I dig it.
Listen, Tanner, if you have stock in Tesla, fuck you. Because fuck you is doing very well.
Oh, no,
been
I
doing
should
well
be
for a
this.
long
I
time.
didn't get in when it was low. I got in recently. So I
we-
bought
after
we-
it split?
Travis and I were talking about it like around.
So it
like,
was
like
what
150
was the
or
date it
something.
split? That was the thing.
A couple of weeks ago. It went
Yeah.
from the 1,400 a share to, or like 1,500 a share to like 400.
It's around 400 right now.
But
it's in the
you got
380.
equivalent stock though, so you didn't lose value though. If you
Yeah.
Yeah, if you bought it after the split, that's
Yeah,
fine.
sure.
Okay.
Arguably, it was better then than buying it at
Now,
14.
analysts are saying buy now, so I'm
yeah,
buying now.
because it's
So,
going.
but
It's going to
Travis
climb
and I
back
were
up
like,
to like
looking
800.
at Tesla back in like
I only
the
listen to
$150
analysts.
range.
I'm a slave to analysts. When they say buy now, I buy now. When the analysts say start this guy in your fantasy football lineup, I start him.
As
I
much
just
as-
don't. I put no thought into it. I'm just a
But see,
drone.
that's,
As
but
liberal
that's
as
the
I
thing is
am,
you are
I
not
still
a
wish I
drone
had that
for
money.
like, that's the thing is, that's not being a drone. That is, it's authoritative knowledge because we've established that this is someone who is arguably an expert in this field. Much like if a scientist is telling you climate change is real and humans are.
I like how you
impacting
brought it back. Yeah, you pulled it all back. There you go.
So
Full
listening to
circle.
analysts is fine.
Speaking of which,
That's
I just want you guys to know how important this podcast is to me because I missed the opening football games of the season tonight. The Chiefs versus the Texans. I missed it to be here with you guys tonight. And I don't have anyone playing in that game specifically in my fantasy lineup, but I love you guys, is what I'm saying.
I appreciate you.
I guess if we're going to keep doing this Thursday nights, then I'm going to miss my Thursday night football games for at least for the next few months,
I mean,
which is fine.
kind
Because
of
the
like- kind of
Sunday's
like-
where it's really at.
It's kind of a nice transition. We'll get some store credit, then we come here and we.
Yeah.
that's a Kansas City is crushing Houston right now.
Good, because guess what? So I'm playing. So we have all of us have a mutual. Well, I don't know if you know Angel, but all of us have a mutual friend. His name's Angel. I'm playing against him this week, and he has
Does he have people
Angel. He
on
works
the
at the
Texans?
shop.
Oh, I know, I've met him. Yeah.
He has the QB for Houston as his starting QB.
Whoa.
So he has Deshaun Watson, and that's good news for me. If they're doing Dookie Cheeks right now, I'm happy. I'm very happy.
31 to 13, 5.5, roughly 5 minutes. left
All the
in
listeners to
Q4.
this podcast are like, I came for politics, and now they're talking the sports ball.
Yeah. Woof. That ain't a. Houston ain't doing so hot.
What is it? Or 31 to 13?
Yeah.
I mean, it's Pat Mahomes, man. What do you want? He's nuts. The kid's insane.
So, that said, listening
That's it.
to.
Yes, the climate change.
Yeah.
Yes, I'm very much.
No, that.
But here's the
It's
I
very
have
relieving
concerns with
to hear
analysts
that too. By
with-
the way, Tanner,
Huh?
like that means we can actually have real conversations about things like this because it's like if you deny climate change, there's like a network of things about who you are. If you just deny science that we can't talk about,
Okay, perfect. Can I? Now this might segue into a second question I have for you guys who lean left, and I'm going to again. I'm playing devil's advocate on this, just being the voice of what the right tends to think. And even there's even libertarians who think it, but the libertarians at the end they don't care. For some reason, the Republicans seem to care. You're talking about the people that deny science and say all this stuff. Climate change is real. Believe science, and they bash the right for being almost idiots for not following the science.
Fanatical in their ignorance is the issue.
Okay, perfect use of words. Because the right would say you're on the left and you're fanatical in your ignorance to think that sex is separate from gender, like that they're in terms of the trans issues. To say that a man is a woman, that is not the science. That I'm just that and from their perspective. That you say no, it's a woman. It's because it's a woman. And it's a man, and it's a man. So and you have to respect the pronouns, and you have to do. I'm not saying me. Super pro trans rights. Actually, the very first. I own my own business. My very first customer, and still was there tonight, is a transgender woman, she was born a biological man who was transitioning to a woman. And the reason why I have no problem, there's some on the right that are just so kind of dickish about it, be like
People, so the North Carolina state legislature.
that are like that still will say like, oh no, it's a man, and where I will call her. I will use those pronouns because we have agreed to a consensual contract between the two of us that I respect her to call her what she wishes to be called, which I think is how it should be. I think it's I shouldn't just because you think you're a woman and I have to call you that. I don't know if I 100% agree with that. If it's a stranger,
But what does it cost you to call her that?
Yeah, I'm gonna. So
it's a lie. I was raised not to lie. But
Does it cost you
terminology that
personally
she
anything to
used.
say that she's a
no, it
woman?
doesn't cost me. It doesn't break my leg nor pick my pocket. If you want to take a Jefferson quote, it does not pick my leg.
So the free market says call her a woman because she come back to your business.
Hey, sure. If we're looking at
Right?
it from a capitalist sense, no, I'm calling because I'm
Saying.
tolerant of other human beings and their life decisions. That's just me personally. But I'm just saying for those on the right who say you guys are always bashes about science claims, but then we bring up biological sex, and you are saying no, that just doesn't exist.
No,
and
biological sex does exist.
Yeah, I don't think
Gender
okay.
is just separate from it.
I don't think
Right.
people are taking. So the entire crux of this is, I don't want to say it's just semantics, but to a degree it is. So biological sex is a thing. You have a phenotype. You have a genotype. These are things that exist.
There are X, Y, and XX chromosomes. There you go.
Yes, and no, that's
We
it,
also
with
obviously have the
exceptions.
benefit of being, heterosexual white males in America.
First of all, you
you-
assumed
did you
my
assume-
sexuality, you assumed my gender, and you assumed my what else do you say? My race.
So are you
Race is
a
just
white
an
cis
And you,
arbitrary
and you
concept
assumed my
together.
country of origin.
So
That's a
are you a
four
white
strike.
cis male American?
White cis male American. I am those things. Yes.
And there you go.
Hold on, Ancestry.com had me at 13% Iberian Peninsula, 0.1% Chinese. That's
Really?
that's a fact. 0.1% Chinese.
Yeah. So with few exceptions, yes, chromosomally there is defined sex.
Okay, so what is your statement to those on the left? And there's a lot. Like, there's really a lot. You can watch any of the videos on YouTube, like these of the videos of them trying to
I don't want to call anyone out.
logic their way to make it make sense. And then there's
the,
just
the
even
gymnastics. That's
people, the mental
activists.
gymnastics to make
So-
it make sense. And then there's just even
I don't want
the
to call
interviews.
some. Travis knows this person too. I don't want to call anybody out, but you and I both know somebody. Names, no names, but her sister is biologically a man, but was never presented as such because of her specific chromosome combination, made her basically a woman with testes in her body.
Yeah,
Okay,
so
that's
it's-
intersect.
So,
But
that's a real
in every-
thing. That's
in every
I
way,
believe it. That's a real thing.
She has a vagina. In every way, you would think she's female, but genetically, she is a male.
Yes, that exists. I 100%.
yeah, so
There's
I
even-
think it's
there's even
Huntington's
conservatives
disease is
who-
actually the position on it. So it's someone who's XXY or there's another piece.
You know who I'm
because-
talking
I
about.
just to
obviously,
also
right?
just dispel like anyone that's on the Ben Shapiro's and Charlie Kirk's of the world agree with that. They know that that's real. They even have said it. Like they're not deniers of like
Yeah.
these things happening and mutations happening. That's 100% a real
Yeah,
thing.
so the question then becomes for presentation and how someone.
That wet ass P word. Someone said Ben Shapiro, and I had to say that wet ass P word.
That's right, because he has no concept of what a wet ass pussy is.
Yeah. Oh yes.
Now,
Oh, the memes I've seen of that. Oh Lord. Poor
So,
Ben.
I have no pity.
Poor
for him.
Ben's wife.
No,
There you go.
yes,
There's a
yes,
correct
poor Ben's
answer.
wife,
Ben's wife.
absolutely.
I mean, she has a name.
I don't know. I know
mean,
she's a
like-
doctor because I've watched all his videos and she just always likes to bring up that she's a doctor.
Yeah. When it comes to gender identity, it is a different structure. Not structure.
So
That's a
subjective.
social.
Is it
term.
subjective to the person that's owning it?
Gender
So-
is
Yes.
the argument would be
My argument
arguably,
is-
I would say
yes,
yes.
I guess.
Mostly
Is that
because
is something
it is
so
solely impactful to that individual.
is,
They are not imposing upon you what your gender identity is.
Also, I
And
think
that's where I think there's really no harm in prescribing to whatever someone self-identifies.
but
as.
also
is
I
that
think-
any way to is that healthy for a society to function?
I
That's
think-
a serious question. I'm not asking because I agree. It's to have something so subjective and so fluid where there could be literally infinite interpretations of what a gender is. There's literally
There's
literally
like
before this-
200 some odd.
here's
I
here's
Googled-
the argument
I
against
Googled,
what you're saying.
There's a gender called Feykin, where they believe
Sure.
they're fairies.
So
And
there,
so,
here's the thing.
otherkin culture itself is a very different.
so like, but this is a thing. This is where I kind of maybe stand with the right and say, come, we need for our society, we need a structure. We can't.
Do we? Because my opinion would be like, who gives a fuck what your gender is?
Oh, personally, I agree.
I will treat you the same way no matter who you are.
100%. I will treat you with respect. If you're a respectable person, I will treat you with respect, and I will love you, and I will.
My gender, your gender only matters to us when it comes to a place where gender matters, and that really only
So
matters.
where would those places be?
I think
actually?
gender really only matters when you get to a point where you're talking about like intimacy, intimate relationships, right? And sure,
I would have no qualms
I
being
think
intimate with
you
a
don't think it
dragon
matters
king.
in terms of the public
Sure.
forum?
No, of course.
In terms of bathrooms,
But
in
you
terms
also
of,
have the right-
in terms of schools. What about
but you-
LeBron? What if LeBron just wanted to go in the WNBA? I'm a woman and just crush the WNBA for the rest of his life. These are
Genders and sports is a whole other conversation that it's too complicated
Which
to
I'm
talk about.
honestly
without
surprised
getting into it.
with many blue states. So Connecticut being an example of one of these, actually struck down the appeal for gender identity being. Ultimately, there was a woman or an individual who identifies as a woman playing in high school sports.
yes.
And she was crushing so
Yeah,
many things.
there's countless
And-
weightlifting records just being done. I
So-
think it's super
so
anti-feminist, to be honest,
the
which we'll go
state,
into.
yeah, the state actually, Connecticut is a blue state. They struck it down, saying no, like you will not be able to do this. Is that ruling trans exclusionary, or is it a statement of these quote unquote classes are established based off of biological sex?
Is it a radical idea? In answer to a question to your statement, which, okay, is it a radical idea to just have men's sports, women's sports, trans sports, men's Olympics, women's Olympics, trans Olympics? Is it like radical? I don't think that's radical. I think because here's the perfect thing, because I've listened to Joe Rogan talk about this, because he just does a lot of UFC stuff and fighting and muscle building and training. When you're born a man, even those early years of being 6, 7, 8, 9 years old, a kid, your bone marrow density from the testosterone is just thicker. Your tendons are stronger. Yeah. It's just a natural biological reality to you being born a male. And when you transfer into a female later in life, those things stick with you. And that's why you're seeing these people crush weightlifting records.
There was a
and so it leads me to say, when someone on the left is saying like let her compete with the women, then I think that's the most you can't. I don't think you can be on the left and say you're a feminist and pro women and also allow trans men to compete with women and just crush them, because biological women. Yeah, sorry, use the wrong term there. Biological women work so hard to get where they are in these sports, and they, trust me, these women can kick my ass. They are so athletically, their athletic prowess is beyond belief, and admirable, and something that all women should try and strive to be. And then just to have someone just have this natural advantage over, just crush them. There was a game of, I think it was a pickup fund for charity, where the UConn men played against the UConn women, and it wasn't even close. It was the points they made was because if the women got fouled and got free throws, and the score ended up being 98 to like 7, and it was all for charity and fun, and they were having fun. They were kind of just being silly, Harlem Globetrottery, not being serious. But they also did play. It might not have been UConn. Don't quote me. I
think it was actually UConn.
UConn?
I do remember hearing.
And it was, but it wasn't even it was men sports and female sports. There's a line, because that line is a biological difference. But there is a strong. I'm going to quote Jordan Peterson. There's a strong neo-Marxist leftist view of group identity and this collectivist thinking that says that gender and biological sex are not different. Sorry, I went on a big long tangent there. I'll let you guys respond to that.
I don't.
I know I gave you a lot to unpack.
So when it comes to competitive athleticism, so any sport, any element behind this, there's always going to be a biological element to things. Now this is not to equate trans athletes to cis athletes as the same, but we have the Paralympics for a reason, because we're not going to have who's that South African guy, the Blade Runner, was his name? Usain Bolt has legs. The Blade Runner was this South African.
Oh, the guy with no legs. Oh,
yes.
I thought you were talking about the African guy that just crushes events. Oh,
but I'm going to compare it to Usain Bolt.
Oh, okay. Yes, I know who you're talking about.
You would not have the two of them run against each other. There are physical differences between the two. Mm-hmm. Obvious being guys like Well, had. I'm pretty sure he's dead because he killed his girlfriend. And
Oh right, and he locked himself. Like there was
Yeah,
a he,
it
like
was in the bathroom
door in
or
the bathroom.
something.
Right, I remember that story. Holy shit, good memory.
so
Well, you
that,
almost forgot about that.
that guy was a Paralympian.
Yeah.
It was not a direct race against Usain Bolt. So we already acknowledge that there are physical differences between athletes and therefore would require alternate events. You don't have...
So you're against the
Special-
narrative of the section of left that say there are no differences.
Yes.
Men and women are the same in every aspect. Even
Yeah, I think
we're talking
the
even
people
how
who
they
take...
think and the jobs they pursue, and there's so
So
many
there-
differences.
there is an
There's
element-
So many differences.
I mean, there is an element stating that, to quickly pivot to,
We're gonna
the jobs they pursue.
We are going to get cancel cultured. Pilot episode 0, like right away. There'd be like,
So there is a lot of the nature versus nurture argument in place that you see. I mean, a lot of times people on the right or fringe misogynists, I guess, will say, "Oh, men and women are biologically different, and therefore that's why they choose more nurturing jobs," and you don't see them in STEM.
Correct.
Overrepresented for STEM.
correct.
I would
That's a
argue
fact.
it is a fact that is the case. Well, that women are not commonly found in STEM fields. I would say that the reason why that is
But even when countries level the playing field to try to get them more involved in it, they still tend to
because
go.
all of those programs, and I can actually make the sweeping generalization for that now.
Okay.
All of these programs start too late,
Sure, you're saying introduce it to them when they're 4, 5, 6, like young,
even younger,
even
like
younger,
to the
babies.
point pre-K. Start normalizing the setup because when you're in middle school, what did you think of all the kids who did like math Olympics and stuff? Fucking nerds.
Nerds.
Those fucking
Listen,
They're-
let me say it
they're-
again.
they're-
I in middle school would kind of make fun and poke fun at the kids playing Magic the Gathering at the kitchen at the lunch tables.
Yeah, and
Whereas
those kids
was-
probably have like
I-
data
that was
fucking
Travis
black
and I.
notices.
Yeah, right. I was just like, oh, look at that. But like, I wasn't doing anything better. I was playing Halo. I was playing video games. I was still doing nerdy stuff. But I was like, oh, I would never play
But
Pokemon.
there is
I
a
would
social
never...
hierarchy in place with nerds, geeks, whatever is the new
Whoa.
term that kids are saying now.
Let's also just acknowledge that someone on the left acknowledged hierarchies exist because that's another narrative of the left is just that hierarchies.
Don't exist.
Yeah.
That we establish social or sociocultural standings within children.
The hierarchies-
Kids are like the most casually
The hierarchies
cruel people.
are man. I guess I should rephrase that. Hierarchies are man-made products and not natural. That they don't naturally form.
I'm not too sure where you mean on that position. All social hierarchies exist as a part of the culture in which it exists in.
I agree. Yes,
And that
I
culture
agree.
is established by men.
Yes, concur.
So
I'm just saying. I'm just saying. There's some out there that don't believe that.
I would just say that there are all hierarchies are biologically innate, and we can't break them or change them.
Not so much. Let me try and get my thoughts on. Maybe I misheard what you first said. That's possible.
Yeah, there are social hierarchies in place when it comes to, like, with the example of school children. And by your own admission, you're making fun of one type of nerd while elevating to a degree of normalcy another type of geekdom that exists. And when we look at this with academia collectively, in America, we reward children who play sports. Jocks are always perceived in pop culture as the cool kids.
Yes.
Nerds, kids playing D&D in middle school, kids playing Magic, Pokemon on the table, you're like fucking nerds and you would spill milk on them. Now, STEM is not something commonly seen as being a cool industry. Some of the highest paid industry, like now we could say, yeah, fucking engineers make a shit ton of money.
Right, but like
Mathematicians, when they
the Elon Musks of the world are cool. I'm not saying Mark Zuckerberg is the coolest guy because I think he's literally
he's
literally a
a
lizard.
robot.
He's a lizard person robot, but that it's cool now.
Yeah, because we've made the smart is sexy when you're older, but not in kids. I can tell you right now,
Big
in
Bang
middle
Theory
schools-
probably helped with that. Like
yeah,
the show,
but fuck those guys.
but in general, like to the pop culture.
Yeah,
world
we've started normalizing geek and nerd culture.
Yes, like Comic Cons are just like
are huge things.
Right, like
Fucking the existence of the Marvel Cinematic Universe
Right.
is, fucking evidence of us normalizing and making this cooler. That said, I can tell you now, bullying still exists in schools, and they're still making fun of kids for being good at fucking algebra when they're in fourth grade. Now, that said, we have this in place. You want to make STEM more accessible to women or to non-men. I guess I don't know if that's the right term now, but we want to make STEM more inclusive. Start there, and we don't
We get them into Little League when they're 6, 7, 8 years old.
Exactly. We say, "Fucking that kid throws weird. Make fun of him."
You know what's funny? Here's a funny story. I totally on board with what you're saying. When I was in elementary school, 5th grade, 4th, 5th grade, the school came with a sheet that I had to go home and have my parents sign, that I had to pick one after school activity. And it was mostly basketball, sports, insert sport ball here. That's what it was. But there was one that wasn't. It was chess club. And I picked that. And the story goes that my father was not super. My father isn't like this. Isn't this stuff? Well, he is conservative, but he played varsity basketball all his life. He was a professional archer all his life. That's how he made money. He was an archer,
which is arguably like the least cool of most sports.
I think it's the coolest.
I fucking love archery, but
he's
still
3-time world champion, 3-time European champion. He's like the. If you take a 3-time world champion in poker, a 3-time world champion in any other sport, it's huge,
Yeah.
So, it's in my whole family. We own an archery shop in Connecticut, and my uncle's been to the Olympics a bunch. So it's in my family. But he was just like not happy that I picked chess, and I was more not really into the athletic side. He thought I would be. I was analytics, games, strategy, music, guitar. I liked those things, and obviously, he's always supported me in any interest I wanted and helped me with that. But at first, I think he had his heart set that to play basketball like he did. And then when I wanted to go to the chess club, it's like, oh,
you're gonna be different.
You nerd.
Yeah, but I mean that goes and establishes kind of the whole point is, and it is a very American position that we put way too much fucking focus on athletics more so than academics.
Right. Whereas even European countries and South Korea, Japan, they put a lot of emphasis on another language. Right away in elementary school, you tend to learn your neighboring country's language, parallel with English. And that's the best time to do it. So I went to college for languages. And like I said, it was originally for radio, swapped out, went to languages and astronomy. But you want to expose it to kids early, like you're saying with STEM, because what they view as the word for example, Spanish, cat and gato, to a child's mind, it's almost just another way to say the same word, like car and automobile. It's just two ways to say the same word. They almost don't even view it as two separate languages. They just now have, if the English language has 500,000 words, their brain has 1 million words because they have double of the same. So, okay.
Valise, by the way. I think it's valise.
So
maybe that's suitcase.
Jake is telling us that we're hitting our 90-minute mark. So we're gonna end the show with a lightning round of questions, quick questions that we take from our listeners, which we have none at the moment. But beforehand, on the Facebook page and the Twitter account, I asked my people that I knew to submit questions that they would like us to answer in a very quick fashion, lightning round setting. So these are going to be questions to all three of us. And the first one is from James. Travis went to go refill wine. So from James, best actor alive. So we can't say Chadwick Boseman.
Woof.
Was that too soon? Was that bad? I'm sorry.
I mean, he was a phenomenal actor.
Oh, he was fantastic. He's in Draft Day. I love the Draft Day movie. He plays a football player in that.
He also played Thurgood Marshall. Supreme Court Justice.
He's gone too soon, that guy. But best actor alive. Lightning round, buddy. Come on.
Yeah, no, that's kind of the
one. Quick on these.
That I would say for depth, range, and just general sort of delivery
and quality of performance.
he fucking plays like every ethnicity, and he's not. I think fuck.
If you have one, Jake, just try.
If you've got one, fucking throw one.
Well, mine would have to be Gary Oldman.
That was mine. I was
Yeah,
Gary
Gary
Oldman.
Oldman.
And
Gary Oldman's like, I mean, it's kind of an easy answer, but dude, that guy has such range.
yeah,
The guy
that was my answer.
has a combination of like method acting, and I mean, like there's like Daniel Day-Lewis is certainly up there too, but like
But he's retired. Well, he's still alive.
then-
No, he is alive.
Gary
I'll get
Oldman,
one for it.
Gary Oldman has played the largest range of characters. He's been in the most movies that I can imagine being impactful in my life. He is the kind of person who,
He's serious black.
and like I just kind of admire him as a person
Seriously.
too. Like there's so many elements about Gary Oldman that's like he's an argument.
So I edged.
Shia LaBeouf.
Okay, it's an star of Eagle Eye
Shia LaBeouf is a good answer, I think.
The
and Holes. He's also in
Nick
Holes.
Peanut Butter Falcon.
Nymphomania. Nymphomaniac.
So wait, is your actual answer Shia LaBeouf? I don't think it is. That's a troll answer.
He's
Right?
actual cannibal Shia LaBeouf.
So
Yeah, I don't
said-
want him to eat me.
So I
guess
said,
is
so I
the
said
first
Gary
reason.
Ullman, and right behind it, I was like, oh, Anthony Hopkins is still alive.
Hopkins is
I think
good.
Anthony Hopkins is actually a little bit overrated.
DiCaprio, obviously.
DiCaprio is
rated.
solid.
He's
Yeah,
rated.
He's rated.
He's rated.
He's
that's-
he's also. I think he waited way too long for an Oscar.
Sure.
he should have been
Absolutely.
over
And The Revenant.
multiple times. Even in the Departed. Name a movie. I don't care.
Yeah.
He should have got it. Well, we might find a bad movie, but like,
Okay,
like most of his
Departed
movies.
is just.
I want to expand this question. What do you think for like underrated actors who don't get their just desserts?
Ooh, that's a good one. That's a good counter question to James's question. Underrated actor, someone who doesn't.
Colin Farrell. Highly underrated, I think.
I feel like he's like. I
No
don't. I
one,
think
no one thinks he's a good actor.
I would say Benicio del Toro.
Sure. I
He's an
agree with
underrated
that
actor.
too. Have you ever watched
Who's
Woody
the guy
Allen?
who did The Room? That guy.
Tommy Wiseau.
That guy.
He's not underrated. He is
he's-
perfect in
He's
every way.
rated. He's definitely rated now. He was underrated. Now he's rated.
Yeah.
Underrated. Oh no, there's a guy who like played a. Oh my god.
What was the movie or?
Oh no,
character?
it's like I can like it's kind of like an idea of the movie. I have to think about. I'll think about it as I go through these other.
Seth Rogen.
No.
No, I'm definitely gonna say Benicio del Toro as underrated.
Underrated. Yeah, my answer. What was my answer? Oh yeah, Colin Farrell. Yeah.
Oh, but does it have to be alive? Because
Colin
like,
Farrell, Cassandra's
because-
Dream.
You could say Philip Seymour Hoffman.
He
well, I
was
gonna
not
say-
underrated.
No,
No,
he's
way.
not underrated. What I was gonna say is people bashed Heath Ledger when he got cast as the Joker. Like this guy, The Knight's Tale, the
Sure,
teen heartthrob.
sure.
Like
Yeah.
he's a
10
whatever.
10 Things I Hate About You is a phenomenal movie.
But-
Have you seen his final film?
Dr. Parnassus.
Dr. Parnassus?
Yeah,
I'm a Terry Gilliam super
also,
fan.
Colin Farrell's in that movie.
Yeah.
He is.
Yeah.
He's one of the alter egos. So is Johnny Depp.
Mm-hmm.
It's actually one of Johnny Depp's better roles, honestly.
I appreciate that movie because like all of those people, all of the actors in various incarnations of Dr. Parnassus,
They're all friends of him.
they all were friends with him. They were like, we did this
him.
because he died. Yeah, like it was very tough.
Also, just like in general, Terry Gilliam, underrated.
James Franco might be my answer. Is he underrated?
so I wasn't that far off. It's Seth Rogen.
James Franco kind of.
You guys really met Casey Franco, right?
No,
I don't know.
what's-
I don't have
what's
an answer off the top of my
his
head because
What's
I
his
never thought about
younger
it.
brother name?
Isn't it Casey? Is that right?
I don't know. He was in Scrubs and it was just terrible.
All right, so okay, we got our question at least. Best actor alive. We had two for Gary Oldman. And what was your answer? You said Shia LaBeouf. Give us a real answer.
Shia LaBeouf.
Not Shia LaBeouf. There's no way it's his answer.
It's definitely not Rami Malek because this list puts Rami
No.
Malek as the top actor of all time.
No.
Fuck off. Bohemian Rhapsody is garbage. Go to hell.
I would probably.
If you're a listener and you like
Morgan
Bohemian
Freeman.
Rhapsody, stop listening.
No, best.
Should I
best
leave? I liked that movie.
Morgan Freeman.
Stop listening.
Morgan Freeman? Good answer. That's a fair answer.
That's a fair answer.
Morgan Freeman's a fair answer.
Yeah, that said, Shia
I mean, like-
LaBeouf is also a very underrated. Good
If this
actor.
was like a fantasy football draft and his fantasy movie draft, Morgan Freeman is a good round one pick. top tier running back.
Jim Carrey would also be on that list for me.
What about
He
Joaquin?
might be underrated. I
Or-
liked him in number 23. So I like a more serious kind of crazy. Not so comedic. and,
So, I mean, The Truman Show is one of my favorite movies.
right, yes.
Robert De Niro's still alive. I'm gonna put that out there.
Yeah, I think Robert De Niro is actually overrated.
Overrated.
I
with you on
don't
that.
agree.
I'm
But
with you
only,
on that.
I mean, he's
By
overrated.
me saying
This,
this,
this lightning round's getting way out of hand.
someone will send him this, and he will show up at my house being like, "What? You think I'm overrated? Is that what
Yeah.
this is?" It's like, yeah, you fucking flew to Connecticut.
Still alive is rough because there's a lot of actors out.
Then you just start quoting Pacino from Heat and just like see if you go
drive him off.
see if you just go back and forth.
I think my two are probably Daniel Day and Gary Oldman though, still alive.
Yeah. Okay.
All right, next, let's move it on. I guess good.
All right. Good. I'm with you. This is a two-part question. Sorry, going way crazier. This one's to me and this one to you. The worst part about libertarianism and the worst part about liberalism. The worst part about libertarianism for me, the libertarians. They're
Great on paper, terrible in practice.
yes, God, they just argue with each other, and they just can never come to a consensus. And to getting libertarians to agree, herding cats is easier.
Honestly, I've never understood that metaphor or the. That is
Herding cats?
Yeah.
Herding cats is easier than getting libertarians on the same page because there's some open borders and there's some for borders. There's some pro-choice, there's some pro-life.
Right.
It's just they're and
It's all about
if you
personal
think a certain
freedom.
thing, if you like even on the forums, they just eat each other. But at the end of the day, they don't want to pay for roads and parks, and so that's really where we consent. But yeah, the libertarians are the ones that I think are doing a disservice to the party.
I mean, liberals are too.
I think it's the
So,
liberals.
yeah, the circular firing squad of not being woke enough.
Well, I think
it's-
it's both that. It's both. So here's the problem: is that on a media and like awareness and visibility level, liberals seem to be this like really like strong firebrand of people who burn cities down and don't give a fuck about anyone's like ideals or anybody's like traditions.
rights.
But in reality, in politics, liberals are Democrats, I guess, and Democrats are traditionally neoliberals, which really don't actually have a liberal platform besides let's just play it as close to the center as possible. Let's just play this out. Just
But is that where the party's going now when you have the AOCs and the Bernie Sanders of the world?
AOCs,
Ilhan Omar
but they're not the
leave.
norm though. Is the problem?
So
they're not the
yeah,
norm.
There is
And no
much-
way.
They're
the
the
same way
norm,
that
to me, they're the norm because the media puts them in front and center in the spotlight.
Sure, but that,
and to the people that don't follow
how
politics,
they vote though, but the votes don't equivalent with that.
I agree.
Do you
but
want to know
I
who one of the
agree.
most progressive politicians is right now?
Sure, give me a name.
Ed Markey.
We on this podcast love us some Ed Markey. I have no idea who that is. Who's that?
So Ed Markey is like a septuagenarian from Massachusetts. He's the other senator
Oh, it's
next
bad.
to Elizabeth Warren.
That's bad.
He's not-
I
he's
live
not
in
the Warren.
Massachusetts. I should have known that.
He's not the Warren.
He is not Elizabeth Warren. He is the other senator in Massachusetts. He just beat Joe Kennedy in the primary.
Right. Okay. Yeah. So I've been seeing all. Oh, I have seen his name. I saw the banners around the city. Okay.
So
Got it.
Ed Markey has decades of political backgrounds for it, and he is one of the most left-voting senators when he was in the House of Representatives, very left-wing as well. But because he's an old white guy, no one views him as being the radical new face of
You can't
of
virtue
liberals.
signal somebody who is an old white guy.
Yeah,
But I
the-
guess my only gripe is if the mainstream media on your TV every night at the 5 p.m. news, when you come home and you click it on and they show AOC, Bernie, and those people, that to people who don't follow politics, that's who is front and center. So that's
Joe
the-
Biden's front and center.
or Joe
Biden is-
Biden,
And Joe Biden's the
Is a
fucking
moderate.
most milquetoast, center of the road.
No,
fucking politician
fucking
possible.
who was Hillary Clinton's running mate?
Oh my,
Tim
Kane.
Kaine.
Tim Kaine. Tim Kaine is the most wonder-bred fucking human being in
Milquetoast
existence.
motherfucker.
yeah, he's
And that
Mitt
goes to
Romney
show
is
you-
more interesting. Mitt Romney is way more
Whoa,
interesting.
They
first
say-
off, fuck you. Mitt Romney's great.
I would vote for
I
Mitt
will
Romney.
say
Hillary
that-
said, I want a safe bet. And then they said
then they
somebody, and then she goes, can we go safer?
Yeah.
And then they said Tim Kaine.
I wish he
He
ran with.
speaks Spanish.
What
though,
if
so
what if
he's-
Hillary Clinton ran with Mitt Romney?
Honestly,
It
that would
would've
probably be the most moderate ticket in existence.
And also, I
it
think
probably
they would have
won.
won.
All right, so we both agree that the
Yeah,
Should've run with Mitt
people,
Romney.
the people,
We all agree that
the
Mitt
marching
Romney should have been the
soldiers.
VP.
Is that a good term to give them? The
No,
marching soldiers.
I will say the Twitter majority.
The Twitter majority. Okay, because that's definitely
But it's certainly not the like the plural of people that I know.
Yeah, your everyday Democrat is not a
tired of all
left
this.
woke activist.
They're mostly tired of everything. They're
Agreed.
tired of life and tired of politics.
But
you know?
indifference will always favor.
which
the
is why I
oppressor,
couldn't.
which is why-
I wouldn't be able to do this podcast if you guys were like that. I couldn't sit in the same room with you. I have a friend of a friend of
an acquaintance.
not an acquaintance.
Someone I used to know.
No, yeah, it's it got so bad. Like she's so virtue signaling woke on her social media. It was like she was having this eternal conflict to be able to hang up like a dream catcher in her house because she thought it would be cultural appropriation of Native Americans, and she didn't want to do that. But it's like, to me, I'm just like, no, you're paying homage and respect to an art form that you like. And she's
Also-
like, no, I'm a cis white.
Also,
female.
do it.
Whatever. Like, I'm too privileged to do that. It's like, shut the fuck up.
So
Like, I think that's the first time I swore on this podcast.
I swear all
I,
that.
I,
I've
think
sworn three
I
or four
tried to be
times,
clean
so.
in case my mother's
We're
gonna
not-
hear this.
sorry,
Guy. My
podcast.
mom's gonna hear this.
Let's accept
Sorry-
the
sorry,
fact
Coach.
of the podcast.
But
also
shut
consider
the fuck
like
up.
like agreeing with you to some extent is like from a liberal perspective that I think liberals are. Like, do it or don't do it. Who gives a shit what you feel about it? Your feelings don't matter. You're either going to be this person or you're not going to be this person.
Well, nothing matters.
If you feel like putting a dream catcher up in your bedroom is appropriation, don't fucking do it and don't talk about it.
But that's the thing. She has to project on social media
Sure.
that this is a
This-
dilemma that's keeping her up at night.
This is in which the way I'm agreeing with you is that
Yeah.
like, do it or don't do it. Who gives a shit? It doesn't matter. Worry about real problems.
So there is a.
But like her family's even. Well, I'm gonna get in trouble for saying this shit. But like,
I mean, we can move on
apparently
to a
there's-
new question.
Huh?
Said we can move on.
We
to
can
a new
move on
question.
because there's like other examples, and I'm
Let's
just gonna
move
get in
on.
trouble
Let's move
if
on.
I keep going on about. It's like you talked
We
about
can
my
move on.
friend and her
we
family.
have
Huh?
more questions to go. Let's go.
Okay, that's true. We have 3 more. I picked 5. I thought 5 would be fine. Maybe 3 should be fine. Will you drink? And from Mike, I'm sorry. The last question was from Eric. This question from Mike: will you drink any other wines or drinks during the show?
I have.
We already are. I mean, Jake's drinking beer.
Jake's drinking beer.
And wine. I'm drinking both. I mean,
Yeah.
nice young.
I kind of. Is it bad that I want to be a purist and say because it's left-right cab? that I
Yeah,
just want-
I'm in an agreement
I mean,
with you on that.
I
Like,
think
I'm probably going to stick to red wine so I can seem like a pretentious douche.
I think at a review
Despite the
level,
fact that I am a pretentious douche.
I think at a review level, absolutely stick with the cabs because it's the name. But I mean, if you want to have a nip or whatever,
God, we're so pretentious to talk about subjects we think we're qualified to talk about while sipping wine.
My master's thesis was on wine and international winemaking.
Right, but
I am
we're discussing
published
like
in-
philosophy and politics.
Yeah.
Like, and we're like super. I don't think we're qualified to talk about this stuff, but here we are. And we're like,
We
yes,
think,
the
we think what
people-
we have to say matters.
I mean, if
theories and
if this was a beer podcast, I would have a lot more to say about the drinking question, I guess. So.
as long as towards the end of our podcast our words aren't slurring,
As
we're all right.
as a home
You
brewer,
tell us if our words start slurring, we'll slow down on the wine.
I mean, I'm
consumption.
not actually listening to the words. Next week I'll have a playback headset in, but right now I have no playback.
Oh,
So I'm watching levels, so I'm making sure you're not peeking or whatever. But
so I'm gonna try
I
as
have no
long as
idea
I
what the fuck you
can.
actually sound
Yeah.
like.
I'll try as long as I can to stick with cabs. There's infinite brands, and so like I think we're never just gonna run out.
Yeah, I mean, the amount of vineyards alone, like we could even do vineyards in New England only, which is not known for their cab sauce.
Sure, right.
But like, we could do that and have like years worth of
Here's
wine
here's
each
the
week.
here's the real rub of it. Once we've like felt like we've expired in the cab world, we can have an offshoot where it's like left right whiskey
Left right whiskey.
or
more like up down Pinot, and then we could do Pinot Grigios or Pinot Noir.
sure, yeah.
All right, so yes, we're open to other drinks. Obviously, Jake's already clearly open.
I've already opened
We're already open.
several other drinks.
To Travis and Tanner, and I think he only said that because he didn't know that
Sure.
Jake was here. So we'll say to Travis, Tanner, and Jake. From Andrew, what would have to happen for you to vote for Trump this election cycle?
Nothing. Nothing can happen.
Was that?
No,
There's not a way I would vote for Trump this election.
There's nothing that he could say or do that would get you to vote.
no.
for
That
him.
so the problem with that position is that is the same mentality that
Sure, that's fine.
switch it around.
That's what we're trying to fight, man. We're
Yeah.
trying to fight
I
that.
agree-
that
I
staunch-
agree with you.
I would vote for
Apparently, I
Trump.
agree with you. I think it's too late. That's what I'm saying. A year ago, maybe, but at this
Isn't
point,
your mic? Will your mic pick up if you said
I'm
that?
doing this on purpose because it was speaking.
Okay.
I would.
My perspective is that it's too late. There's too much of a precedent for me of him being who he is, and the press. Here's the real problem for me with him is like this precedence of like saying whatever it takes to get your votes, right? Which of course that's what politics is in general, but like that thing that is burrowed into my head so deeply That there's like.
Really, I'm not. I'm gonna pick a black
I'm
female
more-
as my just to get the vote. Like,
I mean, I agree with you. I agree with you.
Like that doesn't take any.
I'm
time.
not a Biden fan. I mean, you know that.
You were just dissing him,
I'm not a Biden fan.
right? You were just kind of making fun of him.
Yeah,
like,
yeah. I'm not a Biden fan. It's just that, like, I mean, I
You
may
wouldn't vote Joe
abstain.
Jorgensen? You wouldn't look at the Libertarian Party?
Maybe,
You would?
maybe. I'd be almost more likely to do that at this point. But I'm more likely to probably write into like a Bernie Sanders. I guess.
Vote green.
But we're also, here's another thing. Everyone should know, we're in Connecticut. We have the liberty to vote for whoever we want because it doesn't actually fucking matter.
Right. Massachusetts has a very all the blue states kind
We
of.
have the liberty. I mean, you have the same liberty.
I guess for me, for the Libertarian Party, it's when the numbers come in and they get a percentage of federal funding and that kind of
Yeah,
stuff.
so
Like,
the 5%
debates-
thing matters.
I'm not
That's to me
libertarian
matters.
though, so I don't feel that way about the party. You know, I also don't.
But
feel
wouldn't
that-
you want to see in general more people on stage with more voices?
I think
Because I would love to have the Socialist Party, the Communist Party, the Labor Party,
if we're being
the Green
really,
Party. I'd love all of them to be up there and have their time on. I don't think we should have 19 Democrats running.
No, if
and
we're being
split
real
over
about
2
this-
nights, huh?
the main problem with our political system, and we haven't talked about this yet. And I think it's a
It's
better.
a bipartisan one.
It's probably a better conversation for the next podcast. But like, first past the post is the reason why our democracy is failing.
Facts. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I don't know if that's the reason. It's one of them.
It's a huge. I mean, sure, that's not the only reason, but it's a major one.
So what would is there anything that he could say or do? Because I have my answer.
So
I thought about this. I have
do
my
is yes. Say no.
Of course, so actions always are better
Yeah.
than words.
Yeah,
So-
that's
so-
what I was saying. Saying definitely not.
Yeah, there's
Maybe-
nothing he could say that would convince me to.
What if he
vote for
closed
him.
Guantanamo?
No, I don't give a shit.
What would he have to do? Like
What
a
he
single
would have
action,
to do-
and you'd be like, "Yep, okay, that's enough for me."
Sure.
a-
Sign on and pass the Green New Deal.
And the green AOC's green.
AOC's Green New Deal.
Fuck that. Okay, first of all,
I will say.
how about this? The
You asked the question.
You asked the question.
answer.
That is my answer. He passes
Oh my
an
God.
entire socialist movement for it.
Trav.
It would blow
we
me
we
away.
went
It-
90 minutes, buddy, with agreeing on almost everything, or like at least like understanding each other and being like, yeah, okay, I can see your point. Even
No,
if we
that's it.
disagree, but
So what's the next
fuck,
question?
fuck.
That is what it would take for
Even
me to
her
vote for him.
own, yeah, but her own party shut that shit down.
Yeah, exactly.
Exactly.
This is my point.
There-
That's how you know I'm
problem
drinking
with
too
our
much
party.
wine. I'm starting to swear more. Like, shut this shit down, fucking
But,
garbage.
but that's the thing.
Oh my
That is what it would take for me to vote for Trump, is to do not just have a complete pivot, but to actually put something so diametrically opposed
Yeah.
to the Republican Party and his entire political thing in place.
Really? So a ban on bump stocks being
No,
something
I mean,
the left wants.
that's not-
Gun regulation. That's something the Republicans didn't want that, and
That's
he did
certainly
it.
that's certainly not a
Oh,
problem.
don't get me wrong. I am
I
very.
mean, that's a thing. I mean, if
also
you're looking for
don't-
just something
He's been
that's
pushing
super,
for police reform under Trump. Like, I'm not gonna
he also has
completely
done.
shit
He's
on.
also done wonders for criminal justice and releasing nonviolent
Absolutely.
offenders. That's something the left wants, and he's done that too. Well, come on, work with me. Peace between 6 different nations at war for thousands of years. Give me something.
Israel hasn't existed for thousands
You know,
of
okay,
years.
hundreds of years. I'm drinking.
Kosovo
wine.
hasn't existed for
Okay,
thousands
sorry,
of
for
years.
years, for
Yeah.
whatever.
Not even
Sorry,
100 years.
I-
Not even 100 years.
I used 1,000 very
Israel
liberally.
has not even been around for 100
I
years.
used
Hold
I
on.
used 1,000 very
World
liberally.
War II was in the 40s.
I'm in a couple glasses of wine. I said 1,000. I didn't mean 1,000. I meant
I know.
a long time.
But my
The answer-
position, my position
the
on it
question
is
was- the question was say, right?
No, what
say or
would
do.
what would have to happen for you to vote Trump?
Oh, okay. See.
And that would be, he would need to pass. Do you want to actually? I'll even make it a step further, or a little
You didn't go
better.
far enough with
No,
the
no,
deal.
I'll rein it in a little. Trump adopts and passes Andrew Yang's UBI plan.
Oh my
I'd be
God!
okay
Well,
with that,
Travis,
So what's the next question?
what's this, Travis? We're just not gonna fucking sense ourselves.
Move on.
No, I mean that's UBI makes sense
I'm a
in
UBI
a
fan
post.
too. I'm a UBI fan too, but at least just move on.
Of course, I knew this. I knew going into. I even said to myself, I said, you know what? I am technically going into this with 2 liberals, but maybe I can hold my own.
This is why
But
I'm
here I
trying-
am.
This is why I'm trying to be mostly quiet. Like for most
Yeah.
of it.
Here
No,
I am coming and going to
I-
AOC Green Deal people. All
Yeah,
right, I can't
the,
win.
the Green New Deal piece was
a reach.
yeah.
Okay.
We're also on the internet, so it's like you want a liberal spin because otherwise, how do you get viewers? You know.
But no, I think so. UBI makes sense from an economic standpoint.
I agree.
It does.
Disagree,
Through
but we
automation.
can wait for another podcast
Yeah,
for this.
we
When
can
we
go
talk
to
economic
So
theories.
we want to talk
Yeah.
about UBIs. What else did I say we would talk about?
The dilemma with the two-party state.
Oh, two-party system. Obviously,
This is for
about-
future. It might not be in
we
the second
definitely
episode,
will
it might not be in the third, but we will cover these
I think
things.
It'll come through.
We all inherently agree on the two-party system being a problem for sure.
Yes,
Absolutely.
all
Absolutely.
Yes, from the libertarian side, but yes, 100%.
And I mean, from a liberal who doesn't feel represented same way, you know.
Great.
Like,
So at least we can have consensus. At least the
So
fifth.
then, what would you?
Oh,
for you to
Yeah, I
vote
forgot, I
for?
didn't even answer the goddamn question. If tomorrow, because he's already kind of hinted at it, or said he would look into it. If he pardons Snowden, I would do it. He's hinted at it.
I don't
especially-
think he will.
Well, so
He might. He might
did
honestly.
hint. He's like, I'm going to look at it. He goes, I believe he's been treated unfairly, and I'm going to look into
I
the
mean,
options.
I agree, obviously.
I
So-
think the moment
so-
he sets foot on U.S. soil, like the national security or the NSA is going to murk him.
Sure, but I mean, and then there'll be the tinfoil hat conspiracy guys.
Yeah.
So that would be my thing. Pardon Snowden, because that tells me now he's a fan of actual true liberty and against the wrongdoings of government.
Or-
and then now, just recently, a couple
Which is
weeks
fine.
ago, the Supreme Court finally said yes, what the government was doing was unconstitutional, and Edward Snowden put out a tweet finally after all these years.
So
I've been
who voted? Who voted on that though?
Probably not Chief Justice Roberts. I don't think.
Who,
It'd be
who
interesting
voted in
to
favor
Dems.
of that
Want me to look
ruling?
it up?
Yeah, actually, if you don't
We have the
mind,
internet right
I'm
there.
gonna look it up.
Was it?
Snowden, Supreme Court.
Supreme Court.
I'm assuming 4 of them were like a certain party.
So it was mass surveillance.
Yep.
What was it? Rules.
It's
Is this today?
1944.
It's 1944. What is going on here? Why can't I find this? This was just like this.
Oh, September
Oh,
1st,
here-
NSA exposed was illegal.
Was Brett
Yes, there it
Kavanaugh the
is.
swing
September
vote?
3rd. NSA surveillance exposed by Snowden was illegal. Court rules 7 years into this. The whistleblower revealed collections of phone records. The Guardian court says officials who defended Dragnet were not telling the truth. So then Snowden made. They might put in here. Oh, here we go. Snowden's post. I had never imagined that I would live to see our courts condemn the NSA's activities as unlawful, and in the same ruling, credit me for exposing them.
Sure. So
I,
that's not what I asked, though. I asked.
sure, I'm just saying.
No,
that that's,
so okay, so it was U.S. Court
curious.
of Appeals. It wasn't the Supreme Court.
I'm sorry.
So it was the Ninth Circuit.
Okay.
I apologize.
No, which it's going to get appealed, and it's going to go to the Supreme Court,
Right.
which will be the interesting piece.
So if he comes out and says, I pardon Snowden, that's enough for me to say you are against the wrongdoings of government and you are
But
pro-liberty.
would he be doing it for?
I think he would earn
reasons?
25% of the libertarian vote.
Do you think he'd be
If
doing
he
it for the
pardons Snowden.
votes?
If he pardons Snowden, 25%
Question
say,
being,
yeah.
though, would he be doing it for votes, or would he be doing it for
would it matter?
his own?
I think he needs to do something to get on the right side, and I think
Sure. So
most
so
people
you-
are pro-Snowden.
So you're saying?
I would say so. Yeah,
You're saying he'd be doing it for political reasons, though.
yeah most
Which is the
politicians
same.
do.
Which is the
Well,
same.
it's at the
The
end
same
of the
critique
day.
Yeah,
you would
it's-
give to any Democrat doing the same thing, though. is what
But
I'm-
Obama didn't do it for 8 years,
But I'm saying,
and he wanted his head.
Here, I'm trying to say, from your current political.
A guy who was super
From your-
anti-whistleblower,
Sure,
like
sure,
whistleblowers
sure.
should be praised.
From
And when he was
your-
whistleblowed under his administration, let's kill him.
From your current political perspective, if you
Is Chelsea Manning dead?
if you heard a Democrat doing the same thing, you would say it was for political reasons, though. And therein lies the issue, I think, is that we as
But I'm willing
Americans
to acknowledge that. for
struggle
political reasons.
to divide those two things apart. Like
No,
we
it's-
we want to believe that our politicians have their own like moral compass, but they don't.
With the
actually
exception of presidents, all major politicians have one goal in mind, and it's re-election.
re-election.
Re-election. And would it be coincidental that he's doing it right at a peak election time when his numbers are a little down? No, it wouldn't be a coincidence. There's probably a political reason.
Sure.
He didn't do it in his first 4 years. Why didn't he? You know,
So you're able to say that.
I'm able to say it because I'm a realist and I
but
can understand the reality of the
a lot of
world.
people wouldn't say that. I guess.
So there's oftentimes, I can say right now, many on the left have not sang the praises of Trump's criminal justice reform because they are, in fact, against just about everything that Trump does.
I'm anti-Trump to be anti-Trump, regardless of him completing my agenda. Like he has done wonders for getting people out of jail and for
Well,
victims of
then
crimes.
he then
Especially the black community.
Well, he's very bad with the Latin community though because he detained all of them trying to cross into the U.S.
Ice
But
work.
he's actually doing fairly well with Latin voters
Yeah,
for the last poll I saw in general.
so fully aware of this
It turns out when
generalization
people
that's
are
coming.
employed, it turns out, granted there's a pandemic, so people, but before that, there's the lowest black unemployment rate in American history. So the reason, it turns out when
I mean,
People
our
are
unemployment
unemployed.
statistics also discount and don't count many
Yeah.
people who have stopped
Undercount.
searching
Undercount, yeah.
for
Fair.
employment.
Fair.
So, like,
no qualms here.
But
Usually
so
the
what is-
unemployment number is still twice the amount, but that said, it's still that fact hasn't changed.
We are
so
off
if it's
question,
the
by the
lowest,
way.
yeah.
To moderate, we are way off question at this point.
So
Yeah.
yes, okay. So yes,
So, okay,
that's what
pardon Snowden.
Pardon Snowden would get me to get off Joe. I'm going to vote Joe Jorgensen. I voted Libertarian because I want him to get to the 5%. However, I'm so anti what is going on right now with Antifa and the left, and I don't want that to flourish, and at all. And so if Trump said I'm going to pardon Snowden, I would swap. That would be my record. But I don't think he's going to before the election cycle, so I'm going to vote Joe Jorgensen.
So again, we're in
I would
Connecticut, so
say
it doesn't really
make,
matter.
make
anyways.
sure that he actually pardons him before you vote for him.
Before he just says it in a tweet.
Oh, it has to be. The action has to go
Yeah,
through.
the
Right,
action.
right.
You can't just
Talk
say
is
it.
cheap. Talk is cheap
Exactly.
until the action comes through. Final question, not political, so we can have kind of a fun note. From Amy, the best Joker.
Heath Ledger.
Did you see Joaquin Phoenix's presentation?
Yep.
Have you heard Mark Hamill voice the Joker on the cartoon?
Mark Hamill's a close second.
Okay,
I,
all right,
would
so
probably
sure,
go,
we-
I will probably go Mark Hamill.
So we can all agree who the worst is, right? Jared Leto and
Oh, absolutely,
is
yeah.
hot trash.
He's the only one that's bad.
Yeah,
The rest are good.
yeah.
Cesar Romero.
Jack Nicholson, all of them are
Nicholson,
good.
Great. Yeah.
Jared Leto should just stick to his 30 Seconds to Mars music.
I think Jared Leto also.
I have
suffers-
hope for Mobius. Or Morbius.
I'm saying I don't. I
Oh,
don't
he's
think-
playing Morbius. That's right. You got
Yes,
the,
he's
you
the
got-
living vampire.
Why? I don't
Have you
get
have
it.
you seen that trailer?
No, but I'm talking about when you
Very
pitched
good.
the script and you came in and be like, well, we saw how the bad reviews of Suicide Squad was, and we saw how everyone hated him as the Joker. Who should we get to play Morbius? I'm thinking Jared Leto. Why would you pick? That's like your first round pick in fantasy football, and you pick a kicker. Like,
So-
why?
All right, with the decision to cast him for Morbius, trailer looks good. He does kind of look like Michael Morbius, which is fine. But the thing that is in place, while Jared Leto is a complete fucking scumbag for the shit he was doing to all of the cast members,
Is it Leto or Leto?
I think
Leto.
it's Leto actually.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. But like,
Please don't sue us, Jared Leto.
we're talking about a different Jared Leto. But yeah, like the fact that he sent fucking used diapers to fucking like
Yeah,
Will
diapers.
Smith and other people, like that's
Why?
because he's a fucking idiot. Like he's an asshole.
Was he trying to be crazy like the Joker?
Yes.
That's just like trying too hard, though. I didn't know about that.
Yeah. There's a huge piece that like Will Smith fucking hates him because of the shit that he was doing to like casting crew.
Okay. Well, so he's
like-
crazy. So we can agree Jared Leto's the worst.
What's your next
Obvious-
worst?
My gut and what?
Next
What's
word,
your next worst?
Caesar.
Is it Cesar Romero?
Caesar.
Even though Cesar Romero is like classic and so
It's
important.
classic, but it's kind of like picking the fifth Doctor in Doctor Who. Like it's a
Right.
classic, but there's better new ones now.
Then
Yeah, I would
then
say
Jack, I guess.
Jack. Now here come the Mount Rushmore. Jack's on the Mount Rushmore.
Joaquin and Jack are close for me, so that's what I'm gonna say.
Joaquin was like so
Alright.
dark and deep, like darker,
I think Todd Phillips' direction
darker than
hurts Joaquin Phoenix's performance. But I'm a huge Joaquin
Heath
Phoenix.
Ledger was like anarchy and just wanted to see
Leaving-
things to burn.
so
This
lea-
was like an emotional dark.
Leaving the movie theater, I thought Joaquin was the best. After spending time thinking about it, Mark Hamill is so iconic.
Just his
and-
voice, he can just.
Oh, it's so good.
You don't even have to watch the cartoon. He could just talk that way, and
You're
it
like,
takes you
that's-
there.
yes,
and
for
you're
sure.
there. And
You
I'm
know
not talking.
exactly
I'm not
what
talking
it is.
Mark Hamill anymore. I'm talking to the Joker,
Yeah.
and it's weird and it's creepy.
Also, though, consider that like
This is Luke fucking Skywalker,
it's a
and
different-
he's teleporting me.
it's
with his
also a
acting.
different medium, though, too. You know, right? Because
I know
it's
what you
like
Right. Yes,
animation.
that's
and
we have to take that into consideration.
Serial and animation. Same thing with Cesar Romero too. I guess serial, but
So
yeah.
So not just that though. He provided the voice for the Joker in like all of the Arkham games. He's done many variants for it.
Is Christopher Nolan a better director than Todd Phillips? Yes.
Yes.
So,
Okay, so we can agree on that.
it's a big.
I
It's
don't
also
know.
a
It's
big
like Heath
element.
Ledger for anarchy purposes, and then for emotional purposes, Joaquin Phoenix, like
But also, like-
mental disturbing.
But then, like best
Joaquin.
portrayal of the comic books, Mark Hamill.
I will just say Mark Hamill, Joaquin Phoenix, Heath Ledger, and Jack Nicholson solely.
Wow, you're putting Heath third, huh?
Yeah.
Okay.
I think he beats Joaquin. I think in my mind.
I don't. The main reason why
they're so fucking good.
only
really
Heath
good.
Ledger. So only the Joker could be that character with Heath Ledger. Joaquin Phoenix. I mean, literally
You could
gave
make-
us the example of "You are one bad day away from being me,"
Which is great.
which is a quote from the Joker to the Batman.
But
saying,
that
"This-
movie could have been the same movie without being the Joker too, though. That could have
It
been.
could have just been a guy just on
Yes.
edge.
Yes, the portrayal of the Joker is almost incidental for that movie, which is why it's good too.
Yeah,
that's
it's,
part of what
it's
makes
not
it good.
doubling down on the clown prince of
Sure,
crime.
sure, but I think that also reverberates on the
So I
fact
guess it's
that
an origin story. I guess that's why.
not really though. I mean,
I'm just glad that he guns down De Niro. It's going to be a lot of fuck De Niro.
This is all like fucking near.
De Niro is still one of the goats though. Maybe not the goat, but he's top. He's very high up there in actors. No question about it. I mean, that character wouldn't exist without De Niro. You know, like a lot of what makes that Joaquin Phoenix character happen is Taxi Driver. You know, there's a lot of it's built into that character. And again, I'm a huge Joaquin Phoenix fan. Have you guys seen The fucking Master? Joaquin Phoenix is fucking brilliant in The Master.
I haven't. I loved him in Signs.
It's a Paul Thomas Anderson film.
Huh?
Have you guys,
Swing away.
have you guys not seen The
Swing
Master?
away. I say that all the time. Whenever I'm like playing blackjack with my friends,
Yeah.
and then they have to hit a card, I literally will say "Swing away, Meryl," from Signs.
You guys should watch The Master. It's Paul Thomas Anderson, director, and it's basically like it's Philip Seymour Hoffman too.
Good.
He's playing what's his name, L. Ron Hubbard, the creator of Scientology,
Yep.
but like in like a slightly off-brand version of it.
Yeah,
so
because
something
he would be, the movie would be sued into oblivion.
Exactly. So so he's like basically making Scientology, and Joaquin Phoenix is playing like a new recruit to what is not quite Scientology. That movie is so fucking good. If you don't know Paul Thomas, There Will Be Blood,
Yep.
Boogie Nights.
Yeah.
I mean, there's a bunch of Paul Thomas Anderson movies. They're all great. He's
Dirt Tickler.
kind of the
So all right.
he's
So
kind of the
I have
Kubrick
to
of
put the
our
master.
era.
It's the master.
The Master.
I'll have to put. It's easy to remember. It's a Doctor Who villain.
I will-
I'll
I
have
will-
to put. I will put that on my watch list.
We
Okay,
should
so-
have
so-
like a these are the movies you should watch. section.
So here's my thing. I'm gonna do, because I'm a huge, obviously I've quoted Doctor Who a couple times already here tonight.
Mm-hmm.
I'm a huge Doctor Who fan. I'm gonna do what I'm gonna with the Joker. How I'm gonna also what I do with the Doctors. My favorite Doctor is Peter Capaldi. The best Doctor is probably David Tennant.
David Tennant is
So
amazing.
he's the best, but my favorite's Capaldi.
So you're
I
objective versus subjective. is what you're
Right. So I'm gonna agree that to the masses, Heath Ledger is probably the best
objectively.
objectively.
Subjectively, you're
Subjectively,
Joaquin Phoenix.
I'm probably on the Joaquin Phoenix tied with Mark Hamill. Like,
leaving the movie theater,
I'm willing to acknowledge.
I was sure.
I
that
think we
Joaquin
can
Phoenix
all
was
say
best.
that Jack Nicholson makes a great fourth Joker.
Yeah,
He was the best Joker at one point.
He was.
yeah. Fourth round, I'm picking Jack Nicholson first.
I think that's the universe. Thank you, Jack Nicholson,
You
for
are my number one guy.
Yeah, that's great. That's great. All right, so that's our episode, our pilot, whatever you want to call it, for our first one.
Long motherfucking episode.
It's a long one. We're gonna try and keep it short.
We're like a solid 2 hours right
Okay, well, we want to kind of keep them around
I
90
mean, we can edit
minutes.
shit.
90 minutes is where we really want to be, is our Goldilocks zone.
now. Sure. I think if we do a better job trying to section it out into like segments or something, it might
Yes,
help.
we'll do that. So, with that, follow us on Facebook, follow us on Twitter. At Twitter, it's Left Right Cab. Facebook, just type in Left Right Cab. We'll eventually try and get a Twitch and YouTube up, and we'll keep you guys posted with that. We'll attach the links to where you can hear this episode and submit more fun lightning round questions. You know,
Or like just your comments and like concerns and questions, whatever. I mean,
that too.
we are
Criticism.
open for
if you have
feedback.
any idea about how this could be better, like I mean, obviously it's shorter, but otherwise, anything you have to say about the show, we want to hear it, even if it's really
especially
rough.
praise. A lot of praise.
Yes.
I
Sing
I don't
us
want
of
to-
our.
Listen, I'm a masochist. I'm from New England. I want to hear the worst things. you
Yeah,
have to
I
say
need
about the
praise.
show.
My ego needs this. After getting booed out of the libertarian thing, I need a little bit of like, yeah, it was all right.
I haven't praised
Wasn't
too much.
bad.
in my life.
I'll listen to
I want-
episode
I want
number
the
2.
boo. I want the boo.
I need to know that there's something here that you liked and you had fun listening to, and you're able just to zone out, maybe in a long car drive, and you listen to 1 hour to work and then 1 hour back home. and that was it. That's what I want to hear. But anyways, yes, this is Left Right Cab. I'm Tanner Hall.
I'm Travis Pajoli.
And I guess I'm Jake Rudder.
I guess I'm Jake. Thank you for listening, guys. We'll see you in the next episode.
Hey, good night.